Good morning, DJ and PK right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Jake Hatch, producer of this fine program, filling in. PK will be along in just a little bit. DJ is on vacation today. I want to remind you guys that our program is brought to you by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resorts. They are Utah's finest resort. As always, a big thank you to them for their support of this podcast. Our first show after Christmas. A Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you all out there. A lot going on in the sports world. We'll do our best to catch up on all of it, but also getting you ready for BYU in Colorado tomorrow night in the Alamo Bowl in San Antonio, Texas. Looking forward to that matchup coming up later today. You'll hear from Brian Howell from the Boulder Daily Camera and Buff Zone talking about what to expect from the Colorado Buffaloes. We'll also have our Friday staples of David Locke and Kevin Graham stopping by as well. So a loaded show for you guys on this Friday morning. But let's get started today by talking about the Utah Jazz. They fall 122-120 to the Portland Trailblazers last night. Scoot Henderson making a tough shot to lift the Portland Trailblazers right, I think it was like point whatever seconds remaining. And another loss for the Utah Jazz, but those of you out there looking at what the Utah Jazz are trying to do probably aren't so upset with that. But nonetheless, Jake Scott will recap the game coming up right now with the Utah Jazz game recap.
Your Jazz recap here on DJ and PK 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott with you. The Jazz drop a close one in Portland last night to the Blazers, 122-120. Lauri Markkanen hit a game-tying three, but Scoot Henderson hits the go-ahead 2 bucket with 0.1 second left to go, and Portland hangs on for the victory. The Jazz were led by Lauri Markkanen, who had 25 points. In this one, but not quite enough. Let's get to the post-game sound of Jazz head coach Will Hardy.
A tough loss because I felt like through 3 quarters our defense was really good, and we had given up 23 points at the rim through 3 quarters, and we gave up 24 points at the rim in the fourth quarter alone. Our defense just sort of fractured. They put a lot of pressure on us, driving the ball downhill. It was a variety of guys. I thought Denny Avdia played a great game and was really physical driving the ball downhill. But we came into the game with the notion of like we were doing a few things based on their personnel, but overall we felt like if we could take care of the rim and execute offensively, we had a really good chance to win this game. And through 3 quarters, we did that. I felt like in the fourth quarter, maybe we overreacted a little bit to a few guys making a couple of threes. But the rim was the most important thing. And like I said, 23 points at the rim through the first 3 quarters, 24 points at the rim in the fourth quarter alone. So it's disappointing because you leave with this feeling. The fourth quarter is the most recent feeling that we have, but I thought it was 3 quarters of really good basketball by our team. I thought the fourth quarter, a few turnovers at times that hurt us. But to come out of the fourth quarter, we scored 32 points in the fourth quarter. I feel like the offensive side of the ball is playing pretty well. Defensively tonight, the fourth quarter cost us.
Completely separate games, but do you see any similarities between what happened in Cleveland late in the game and what happened tonight? Just flurries, different things in that fourth quarter? Or
I think it's a little different. In Cleveland, the game shifted. We were down 3 when they fouled Walker, and then we fouled Mitchell shooting a 3. So that game, it was a close game, but it wasn't as close as this one. I do think late game execution, obviously, our team hasn't been together very long. We've got a lot of different guys out there at the end. But I felt like on the offensive side of the ball, there were a couple of turnovers late that hurt, but I felt like the team for the most part was on the same page. It just was a tough quarter to feel like we could get into a rhythm because we were taking the ball out of the net so much. The first 3 quarters we were able to get out and run a little bit off our defense, and that helps you have a little bit of a better feeling when you have to execute in the half court. The fourth quarter felt really choppy because we just couldn't get any stops.
I know you've talked a lot about Lowry being the best when he's on the move. Tonight we saw that a lot off ball, going downhill, or just catch and shoot threes. What did you like about his game tonight and how he was able to score?
Yeah, I think Lowry is adjusting really well. He's being guarded very physically. I feel like he's making some better reads off the ball. We also have made a few adjustments to try to help him stay on the move. There was a period of time where, watching the film, I felt like Lowry was stagnant, but a lot of that, is probably on me. And so we needed to make a few adjustments, try to get him a little higher on the floor at times. I think, he and Colin are developing a nice rhythm together, playing that two-man game on top. So it's something we've got to continue to work on. But, Lowry understands that the objective on every possession is to create a good shot for our team. And sometimes, based on how he's guarding, the best thing he can do is screen. I thought he did a really good job with his angles tonight. He freed up some of his teammates. So it's a process for Lowry because he's getting a lot of attention every night. And sometimes there's the feeling in his position that I have to score a certain number of points to help us win, and that's not always the case. But he's been great about it, and I think that we've found a little bit of a rhythm with him lately, helping him move some more off the ball.
Late in the third quarter, too, we had all the rookies in, Kyle, Isaiah, Cody. I'm just curious what you saw from them tonight compared to how we even started the season.
Yeah, I think they're all more comfortable than they were to start the season. There's obviously still a lot of work to do. And the great part is that they all have moments. And I think watching them play a lot in the G League, we're continuing to build an understanding of who they are, but also where they are in the process. That's a big part of development sometimes, is sort of the diagnosis of it and what do we need to address first. And I think we have a better handle on that now than we did 2 months ago. But I think all of them have shown a lot of improvement in their understanding both sides of the ball. But, we still have a lot of work to do, and they're digging in. They're working individually. They're working in practice. They're working on the film. I do think they're all really competing, which is the most important thing for me, building those foundational habits of competitiveness every night. And, I'm happy with all their progress.
That's Jazz head coach Will Hardy. Let's now move on to the players and hear from Drew Eubanks.
Awesome. Well, Drew, we know this was going to be a battle, knowing how you guys won last time. How do you guys think you guys played, despite the outcome, but being tested like that?
Yeah, we knew they were going to come out, like you said, how we played them last time. And for the most part, we executed what we wanted to do, take the ball out of Ant's hands and make other guys beat us. Those guys played well, and they won on a good shot at the end.
And then tonight, even your performance, most points in a Jazz uniform since you've been here. Shot, 6 of 6 from the field. What happened for you tonight on the court to be able to do that?
The ball was moving a ton. We were sharing it. That second unit, we made a lot of good stuff happen, and I was the recipient of some good plays. So just got to keep playing like that.
What have you been able to learn about the team on these road games that have been really close, really intense these last couple of games?
Yeah, we've gotten better every single time we've gone out there, executing different stuff and getting more of a rhythm with each other. And I like where we're at. We're a young group, and we're going to keep getting better. So just got to keep it up. Yeah.
That was Drew Eubanks, 15 points, perfect 6 of 6 shooting. Let's now move on to Svi Mihailuk.
Svi, it seems like this road trip, there's been a lot of really, really tough games, and it's hard playing on the road. But what have you learned about your team in these different environments?
I feel like it's a great experience for all of us, especially we have a young team, and close games teach us a lot how to play. What I hope we learn from our own mistakes, and I hope we keep moving forward, because I feel like it's a great experience because it gives us opportunity to learn what we need to do at the end of the game or how we need to approach the games like that.
Your performance tonight, you got hot at some point, and 50% from three. What were you feeling out there in the court tonight?
What
were you feeling tonight on the court when 50% from three?
Same game, different day. Just trying to come out there, shoot the ball when I'm open, try to make the right play, and play the right way.
And I know every team travels a lot on the road, but you guys are finally back for 2 home games. What is that going to feel like, just to kind of settle in a little bit back at home?
I feel great. It's always great to play at home, and I feel like it's going to give us a boost of energy. The fans are going to give us a boost of energy, and I hope we're going to win the next 2 games.
That was Svi Mihailuk, 18 points for him. He got the start, 6 of 13 shooting, 6 of 12 from 3. But the Jazz come up short against the Blazers. They lose 122-120. Up next, the Jazz are at home for a showdown on Saturday night with the Philadelphia 76ers. That game will tip off at 7:30. Pre-game coverage begins at 6:30.
There you go, Jake Scott, and big thank you to him for taking the time to recap that tough loss for the Utah Jazz. Coming up next, we go to San Antonio, Texas, to hear from the Colorado Buffaloes, Shedeur Sanders, as well as a number of the other Colorado Buffaloes players getting ready for this game in the Alamo Bowl coming up later this hour. You'll also hear from BYU coordinators Jay Hill and Aaron Roderick, as well as a bunch of BYU players. Also spoke to the media. We'll get to all that as DJ and PK rolls on right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Good morning, DJ and PK right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Jake Hatch filling in for this first hour here on the program on a Friday after Christmas. The BYU Cougars take on the Colorado Buffaloes tomorrow evening in San Antonio, Texas, in the Alamo Dome in the Alamo Bowl. Looking forward to this matchup. See if the Cougars can pick up an 11th win on the season, but they'll be facing Shedeur Sanders, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and obviously the Heisman Trophy winner himself, Travis Hunter, in this game. Well, Shedeur Sanders, as well as a number of the other Colorado Buffaloes, addressed the media yesterday to talk about this matchup, what they expect when they take on the BYU Cougars, and a whole lot more. Here you go, part of that conversation, I guess part of that press conference, I should say, with the Colorado Buffaloes.
This question is for Shedeur. Pat Sherman was just in here talking about the relationship with you, and I know you've had a number of different coordinators during your college career, but can you talk about what you've maybe gleaned from all of them, but also specifically with Pat, and like why he's been such a good coordinator for you?
Yeah, so each year, I would say more and more been put on my plate. The more experience I got, the more years and tasks on hand, the more ball I play. So at this point, it's kind of he brought a different perspective of, from the league perspective, coming into college and being able to adjust and help me see things in a different perspective, in a different way. So we could all look at the defense on the board, but we all could have different point of views. So it's kind of, that's why I'm thankful to be in the situation I'm in and have all the different offensive coordinators, and ending with him is because he's been, at the biggest level, the highest level you could get. And I was able to learn a lot from each and every one of those coordinators to where it all built me into the player I am today.
This one could be for Shedeur and Jimmy as well. Speaking with BYU earlier, they talked about how excited they are to get to play against such a talented roster, and your coaches came in, talked about the strong defensive front that they have. What are you most looking forward to when it goes to going up against BYU?
For me, it's problem solving. That's what it is. We know they're going to do a lot of exotic things and a lot of different things that we probably haven't seen on film. But it's just, we just got to always just stick to the basics and do what we do best. And they're a talented team, and they listen to their coaches and they do everything 98% right. It's defense, so defense is eventually somebody's gonna bust a coverage, but that's just what it is. But watching film on them, it's hard, very hard to find a tail and very hard to find a flaw when it comes to them, because the way they go about their business, the way they get in their stunts, the way they're able to move and react different ways, and you don't know who's doing what, So they got a great scheme, they got a great everything, and I'm very blessed for my final collegiate game to go against that type of challenge.
Yeah, to piggyback off of Shedeur, really we're going, what we looking forward to, basically, he's really said everything. They're a real good disciplined team, and we just got to go out there and execute our game plan and play smart.
Question for Shedeur. Obviously, everyone knows you and your dad's tradition before the game, just kind of walking to the end zone and walking back. I know Shiloh's joined you a couple times this season during that. I mean, just kind of how much are you looking forward to that last one this Saturday, and kind of what do you feel like the conversation will be during that time?
I think the walk is the least of my worries right now. I think they got a pretty good D in this bound to go early second round. So that's kind of my focus right now. I'm not really focused on a walk with him. There's bigger things and bigger tasks at hand. The main thing is just to win the game and do it in a dominant fashion, do it very clean and precise. And that's what our focus is. So in these final days, wrapping up everything to get to the game, just cleaning minor things up that we see flaws, and watching old games that we play honestly, and just getting back, in that taking yourself back through those situations, those times, since we had so much time off.
Shedeur, it's
and by the way, I got a lot of teammates up here too. I just said, because they wouldn't have came if it was just about me. It was pointless for them to come.
Well, on that note, it's not a question we use to ask football players, and it's almost crazy to ask a football player this question. But why are you playing in this game? Why did you make the decision to play a game that so many other guys in your situation don't necessarily do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't adjust and I don't do what other people do. I feel like that's. Even from the beginning, we went to HBCU and not every offer in the country. So it's like I don't really care what other people do, and it's about, I'll say it's about the team, and it's about everything I stand for. It is about equality, and it's about, just because they projected X, Y, and Z, that don't mean I can't play with my X, Y, and Z's. You get what I'm saying? I got to play with my receivers. I got to be able to play with the team, the O-line, everything like that, because we may not ever have a chance to play again together on the same team. So it's about cherishing the moment. It's about knowing this is the final collegiate game, and each and every game we left it all out there, so there's no regret. I don't ever want to go anywhere with regret, so that's the thing. If I felt like anything negative, I wouldn't have played this year. I was going first round last year regardless anyway, so you feel me? It is no difference. I would have just went.
Let's have two more questions for Shedeur and let him go. You have a question for Shedeur? Anybody? Front question, last question for Shedeur?
Congratulations this year. Great season.
Definitely.
You mentioned problem solver on the field.
Mm-hmm.
In real-time situations, is it just you and Coach Sumer? Is it you and Coach Prime, or your receivers, your teammate who's helping you make those decisions? Can you speak to that, please?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. Like I say, I talk to them on the sidelines, get their perspectives. I ask them, okay. Well, I'm not gonna tell you too much what I ask them, but anyways, I get the details I need to know from their perspectives, to know how to attack the defense, to see if they're seeing what I'm seeing, so we all on the same page. Then we recap. Of course, we have our own mini conversations. Then we recap with the boss, Coach Shermer, and then we talk about how we're gonna go moving forward. So that's what it is, a problem solving. If you could watch a team. We came out a couple games where we watched the team the whole year, and it was 4 down front, and it came out an odd. So it's like we seen everything. That's what Utah did to us early on in the game, and it kind of threw us off a little bit. But we had that challenge. We had that milestone already, so we know how to adjust. So that's why anything, I'll say pretty much everything now, we have the solution. It's just we just got to get to it early. We can't wait till it's too late or to after halftime to get to that point. So that's what I'm most excited for, is we all know what's at stake. We all know what's on the line, and we just got to start fast and do it early on.
Thank you, Shedeur.
I got one more for Shedeur. Whoever drafts you might be interested in adding some of these guys next to you to the team. Would you mind going through and just, if that team asks you, hey, what do you think of LeJohntay, Will, Cam, or Jimmy, what would you tell them?
So for sure, LeJohntay, for sure he's going to get open. He's a threat all over the field. And it's hard. I haven't seen too many receivers get in and out the breaks how he do. And man-to-man coverage is very tough to guard him because I'm like, after some plays I ask him, I'm like, dang, bro, I didn't know you was going to get open on this. You feel me? Because it's not supposed to be there, but you still made it happen. So that's for LaJohntay for sure. Will, definitely 50-50 ball guy. And I feel like I know how to get him going. I know how to – I was going to say something, but I was going to say something. But, nah, I know how to turn that switch on for him. Whenever, through good, bad, through everything, and he overcame a lot this season. So at a big stage, and you understand it's not a lot of people and not a lot of players in college football that goes through as much pressure as playing for the Colorado Buffaloes. So he dealt with pros, he dealt with the cons of everything, so he's level-headed and he understands each and every game I got to go out there and make a big impact. So definitely going to go up and get the ball, go and make plays, and I don't really call them 50-50 balls. It's kind of automatic, you know. Cam, for sure. I don't really like going against him that much. So, but Cam, he's going to do his job, and he's Mr. Consistent. So that's probably the most consistent players we have. Everything that he does is consistent. The way he practices, the way he goes about his business, and we've been doing that since HBCU. So it's like it's no level or anything that could get to him. It's nothing, fame, lights, money, it's nothing that could get to him because we all came from that same area, that same challenges, the same journey. So we're almost the same. I say, but he's just on the defensive side of the ball. He's the quarterback of the defense. Jimmy Horn, he's definitely fast. Jimmy, I'm real disappointed right now because Jimmy was playing through a lot of injury this year. So I take that personal that he wasn't able to get the numbers and able to do what he was supposed to do because we had big plans, big everything with him and Amarion. So that kind of really hurt me, I would say, and he hasn't been able to show his best yet. So maybe it's not, the perfect time right now for him to hit his peak. Maybe it's, year 3, year 4 in the league, we on the same team for him to really maximize his full potential. But he's able to get open. He's able to, when he's healthy, he's very unstoppable, and it's tough to guard him in man coverage. So any one of them I'm excited to play with. I really hope it happens, I really hope it does. Because I know them, I know everything about them. So I'm just, who knows? I'll be excited for it, though. But I'm definitely pulling for him, though. I definitely am.
Appreciate your time, Shedeur.
Yeah, thank you.
Questions for the other players?
I got one for Cam. Coach Livingston a couple weeks ago was almost getting a little bit emotional talking about yourself and some of the seniors that you're going to play in your last game this Saturday. And just wondering if you could speak to just kind of the emotions of getting to work alongside him this season and growing that bond since he got on campus last winter.
Ever since Coach Livingston got here, he just trusts me with defense. He always tells me I trust Cam with my kids. And that means a lot to me. That means a lot to everybody on the team just because Coach Livingston I don't really look at him as a DC. I kind of look at him as a teammate. It's kind of that kind of thing. He's in that ground with us every day. He's just a wonderful guy, terrific guy. I mean, honestly, he changed my life. He changed my life for the better. Just when he came in with no playbook, and he told me, what do you like to do? What do you like to see? And we went with it, and I love him for it, and I love him for it for life.
Kind of building off what Shedeur said there, Jimmy, obviously you've been dealing with those injuries. How have you gotten through that? How have you been feeling in these bowl practices?
I've been feeling pretty good. The way I got through it, I go to treatment every day, just got to show up, get the treatment for my body so I can go out there and perform.
What would it mean for you to have a big performance on Saturday in your final game as a Buff?
It'll mean a lot, I want everybody to have a great performance. You don't want to finish your last game just wishing, shoulda, coulda, you know what I'm saying? So just want to finish all strong with a great performance.
LeJohntay, this has a potential to be the last game you play with your brother. What does that mean to you, and what kind of advice are you looking to leave him with as you move on to the NFL and he has another year in college?
Playing with my little brother, man, it's amazing. It's a blessing. Going into this last one, I definitely am going to get a little emotional. But all I'm going to tell him is just keep grinding, man. Like, when your time come, I tell him all the time, like, when your time come, let them see it. Like, let them see what we be working on. Let them see what I see, you feel me? What all our family see, So he just patiently waiting. So when his time come, he going to show the world.
For each one of you, can you just talk about ending your career in a bowl game like this? And for a lot of you, you went through some losing seasons where you're at before. So what does it mean to you, start from Jimmy on down, just kind of what it means to you to be in this bowl game and finish your career this way?
Man, it means a lot. It's been a journey. Shoot, it's my first bowl game since I've been in college. So I'm real excited, man. And I just want to thank all my teammates, everybody, a part of the coaching staff, the coaches. Like, it's been a real journey, man. We worked real hard to get where we at. And, I can't thank nobody enough because, I won't be here without them, So it's been a journey, man. And I'm just thankful and blessed for this opportunity to be in the bowl game. I cherish this. I'm going to go out here and play real hard. So I'm just ready.
Like you said, man, everything. Everything to us. Especially for me when I came in Boulder on the 111 after the 111 team, and we had to build a lot. A lot of things ain't go our way. A lot of people hated on us, but look at us. So look where we at. So it mean a lot. It mean a lot to be here. Just be here at this wonderful establishment. San Antonio. It just mean a lot. We always pray to be here, be somewhere in a bowl game. It's been great, man. Great.
Yeah, this is my first bowl game too, so it's really just a blessing, especially being able to be at one of the best bowl games outside of the college football playoff and get to play with everybody on this stage and everybody back at the hotel one more time.
Just piggybacking off of them, this is our first bowl game. This is my first real bowl game. I had a bowl game in the Montgomery Bowl in 2020 COVID season, but I'm just taking it all in. It's hard to get here, This is our Super Bowl. We didn't make it to the college football playoffs, so this is our playoff game, and we're locked in. And just like this is our Super Bowl, so we ready.
This one for Jimmy and Cam. Both you guys have been here for the last 2 years. You have the opportunity to be around some of these younger guys. Cam, Jimmy, we've seen both of you with passion speeches in front of the team. How important is it to both of you to pass down the standard that you helped reestablish? Cam, you spoke about that after the Oregon State game, that there was no standard when you got here. And now you guys take a lot of pride in being able to set that. So have you gone out of your way to maybe go to some of these younger guys and make sure that they're getting acclimated?
Yeah, of course. Because we didn't get a chance. We didn't get a chance to play for a Big 12 championship or a national championship. But we still want to see that happen here. We still want these guys to, go do something. I talk to the newcomer freshmen, the early enrollees guys all the time, just because they're building something here. We're really building something. We are the guys that you'll remember that started this. So when they get to winning, it's like, okay, that's the time for us to come back and be like, man, we started all this for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that's what I always think about, because I know one day it's gonna happen for us. So I just make sure I pass that standard down. It's very important. These next coming guys, these guys are it's a difference for me, because the guys that came in December, like the early enrollees, I can just tell they're different. I can tell it's a different mentality than when me and Jimmy were coming in January and we had guys come in, they just wasn't there. But these guys are working their butt off in practice already and only had 2 or 3 practices. So it's going to be great. It's especially important to make sure you keep passing it down.
All right, we got the pep rally, so let's just do a couple more questions, please.
Can I hear Jimmy's
I'm sorry.
That? I'm so sorry.
I was about to let him go ahead and go.
Sorry, Jimmy.
No, but to piggyback off what Cam said, the coaches got the blueprint, and us players, we set a foundation that the younger kids that come in, and they got to build off of, So, they come to practice every day to work, every day they working, and it's it's good to see younger kids that's coming in as freshmen that really want to play. Because when I was at other program, you could just tell, you just know who really want it and who really don't want it. You know what I'm saying? So we just gotta, us just talking to them, just, I don't know, nah. I ain't too much of a talk.
Front row.
This is for all of you. Specifically you, Cam. You spent a lot of time with Coach Prime and this coaching staff, and you're having a lot of success in the portal. Why do you think the coaching techniques and the experience of Coach Prime and the rest of the coaching staff is being so successful?
That's an interesting question. The biggest thing I think about, I can't really think of too much. It's just work. You're gonna get here. You're gonna have to work your butt off. Nothing gonna be handed to you. Any of these guys can tell you, like when I first got here, when Jimmy first got here, when Will first got here, when the Junta first got here, it was kind of like, all right, it's kind of different speed. It's kind of different. You know what I'm saying? These coaches talk a little different. They move a little different. So just the work. You have to come here and put in. And it's kind of like a survival, if you like to say, man. You get here, it's like, all right, I'm trying to survive. So when you get to the season, then that's when LeJounte go for 200, Will go for 200, Jimmy go for 200. You know what I'm saying? So that's when that happens, when you get through the work. So it's all about the work when you come here.
Okay. Can we go middle? Last question, please.
I'll ask you two over here. I asked BYU this. Both these teams were part of that four-way tie for the Big 12 title, but you're the two that didn't get to go to that title game. So have you guys talked about this maybe being sort of a secondary Big 12 title game?
Yeah, a little bit, man. BYU was top of the conference at one point of the season. We was top of the conference at one point of the season. So, I mean, y'all seen the Big 12 game. Yeah, it was cool, you know. So we gonna give y'all a real Big 12 show on Saturday. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm gonna say.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we both had to watch other games to see if we were gonna get in. So I think it's kind of a personal thing for everybody, knowing that we couldn't be in that game and seeing how that game went and just kind of making this one like someone already said up here, like make it like the Super Bowl for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go, Shedeur Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes getting ready for that matchup tomorrow night. It'll be a 5:30 pregame show here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie and myself getting you ready for that matchup. And obviously we'll have full postgame coverage as well as soon as the game goes final with whatever happens on the gridiron. Coming up next, we flip over to the BYU Cougars. What do the Cougars have to say about this matchup? We'll get to that next right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back to DJ and PK right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hope you're doing well on this Friday morning. If you're working, you're out and about, if you're up this early, thank you so much for tuning in. Getting you ready for BYU in Colorado tomorrow night in the Alamo Bowl. Looking forward to this matchup and a whole lot of chatter, obviously, in the lead up to this game. Let's let you hear now from BYU coaches and players. There were 8 of them in total up on the dais. We had offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick, defensive coordinator Jay Hill, quarterback Jake Retzloff, wide receiver Chase Roberts, linebacker Isaiah Banya, offensive lineman Connor Pay, and a few more Cougars addressing the media. We'll get to that right now, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
For any of the coaches, when it comes to playing in a dome and when whether it's just the atmosphere or just the feel of not having to worry about weather conditions like you would at your home field, is there anything different that comes into this environment rather than something else you've experienced this season?
Offensively, there's not really anything different. We practice in an indoor facility quite often, but it is nice to know you don't have to worry about the wind or anything. You just play ball, and so we're looking forward to that.
Thank you, Coach Roderick. Other questions?
Coach, when you think about the opportunity to be going up against somebody as talented as a Heisman Trophy winner at corner, what type of challenges are you guys preparing for when it comes to it? A lot of people think, okay, just stay away from his side, or what are things that you think about when the challenges he presents for your offense?
Well, he's a great football player. First of all, I'm a big fan. To play as many snaps as he plays on offense and defense is very impressive, and he plays at a really high level all the way through the fourth quarter. He's playing just as fast at the end of the game as he does at the beginning, so that's impressive. The problem with going away from him, though, is their other defensive players are really good too. They have a good defense, so we know what we're up against, and we're excited for the challenge. I feel like we're going to match up well, but we have a lot of respect for them. They have good players.
Coach Hill on the other side, what is it like preparing for players as talented as Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and what they bring to the offense?
Well, they're obviously very effective in what they do. They throw the ball really as good as any team in the country. Shedeur's completing a lot, a very high percentage of his passes, and he's got 4 very good weapons to throw to. It's an explosive offense. I think it's a fun challenge for us. It's their pass offense against our pass defense that will be kind of the matchup on our side of the ball that everyone's going to be looking at, and I'm excited for the challenge. We're going to have to do some things, obviously, to get some pressure on him and then do some things to disguise coverages. Shedeur is a very intelligent quarterback, so if you just sit in one thing and he knows where to go with the ball, he's very accurate.
Chase, you guys have pulled out some games as an underdog this year. What does that say about this BYU team and the mentality that you guys play with?
Yeah, that's just always how we've been, Ever since the start of the season, we were underdogs when it came to winter workouts, spring ball, fall camp, and that's the mentality that we had going into each game, and that's the mentality we have going against Colorado. We're just excited to go do what we do and show that we can play football, that we can match up with anyone, and we can score a lot of points and we can stop them on defense. So just excited to play a talented team like Colorado and go show what we can do. And every game's been a statement game, so we're going to go make another statement this Saturday.
Question for Tyler. When you watch Shedeur on film, they obviously give up a lot of sacks, but he also avoids a lot and makes some plays. So what's the challenge of facing a guy like that you maybe can get to, but he's still going to probably avoid some of those and make some plays?
Yeah, I would say it's just it's an exciting opportunity. It's a great challenge. He does run around well and extend plays, and he's accurate with the ball even when he's getting hit, right, and even when he's being pressured. And so for us, it presents an awesome opportunity to get after him and get some sacks, right? We know he's going to hold on to that ball a little bit longer. And at the same time, you just got to be careful to not let him, kind of run free and complete those long balls down the field.
For any of the players or maybe multiple players, Coach A-Rod the other day said that bowl games are a lot about motivation and which team wants to be there the most. Convince us that you guys want to be there the most.
I could take that one. If you guys know my history being a junior college player, then walking into a stadium like this is a lot different than any stadium we've walked into, and we are plenty excited to be here. This is obviously being as big of a stage as it is, prime time, playing against a good team that draws a lot of media attention. And we are excited to show what we got. But like Jay said, we've been doing it all year. We've been the underdog all year, and we've been ready to make our statements all year. And so we'll be excited. We'll be, dancing in the end zone and having fun on the field all game. And you'll see when we play at best, I know we got a lot of smiles among all 8 of us. There's a lot of smiles when we're playing best. So you'll see the smiles come Saturday, and we'll be excited to hit that field.
Thanks, Jake.
Connor and Isaiah, same question.
Sounds good. Thank you. I was getting bored in the corner over here. But no, for guys like Tyler and me, this is our last chance in a BYU uniform, and that's plenty of motivation. And going along with everything that Jake said to make this game really exciting. But this is the last time we get to wear that Y on our chest and be with our teammates. And, you want to go out and perform the best you ever have. It's your last chance. There's nothing to hold back. And, that's the mentality that we're taking to this game, at least for the seniors too. And then, like Jake said, there's a lot of cool things surrounded with a bowl game like this, and we're really grateful to be here.
I'll probably say mostly playing for the seniors, but you see like Travis Hunter and these guys, like especially him winning the Heisman and stuff. That's I feel like that's something I want to all the boys want to play against them, especially just, I don't know, the competition, really. And us having to play another team in our conference, I feel like that's motivation, too, just to start this conference rivalry. So, I don't know. I feel like those are the things that we're most excited about, especially in just with our seniors and stuff. I don't know. I love these boys, and that's the only motivation that I need. So,
Thank you, Connor. Then Isaiah in the back.
My question is for Jacob. How would you describe the culture of BYU football as a player, and like how has it impacted you, especially going into postseason? I know culture can kind of shift sometimes, so is the culture the same, or is it very much getting better and better as y'all have been in San Antonio?
I'd say Kalani really preaches about love and learn. It's kind of just BYU as a whole. I feel like in our locker room, it's love and learn. If there's a fight ever, we gotta shake hands after. It's never hold grudges. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for us.
Go ahead, Gary.
Connor, I wanted to ask you about Colorado's obviously a team that generates a lot of attention, while BYU's kind of flown under the radar in a lot of ways. Do you like that dynamic? You wish there was more eyes on BYU football and people appreciating what you do, or how do you size that up?
I think we're totally fine with it. Right? I think being the underdog, or in some ways maybe underappreciated, we're comfortable being there. We're used to it. You know, and they've played really well this year. You know, they deserve the attention that they're getting, and that's totally fine. And we're comfortable where we are. You know, we don't need all the media attention or all the other stuff. You know, our motivation comes from different places. You know, obviously you all appreciate it when you do get recognized for things you do well. You're grateful for it, but it's not a necessity.
Middle, Brian.
I have two questions, if I could. The first one's for Jacob. Travis Hunter obviously won the Blitnikoff, but they got LaJonte and Will and Jimmy Horn, all these guys. Can you talk about the challenge of going against this receiving core? And have you gone against one as deep as this one?
Yeah, they're all fast. They're all really skilled. We've seen really good receivers this whole year. I'm just excited to go against all of them. We played number 4 from Arizona, who was really good. So I think, we all just came in with the mindset is we're going to play good. So,
and then just for any of the players, you guys both these teams were part of that 4-way tie for first place. You're the two that didn't get to go to the title game. Do any of you look at this as kind of sort of another Big 12 title game?
I think it's the People's Big 12 Championship, personally.
Thanks, Jake. Front row.
For Coach Roderick and Coach Hill, what can this bowl game do for you guys to springboard into 2025 next year as a tone setter?
Well, I think anytime you get a chance to go out on a win, that's a huge deal. It's one more opportunity for the young guys to continue to get better and to prove that they deserve to be starters next year. It's such a fun matchup that there's going to be a lot of hype, and I think that hype can lead you into next season with next year's rankings and things like that. So there's a lot riding on this game, and we're approaching it as such.
Yeah. Offensively, our first priority is to send our seniors off the right way. And then secondly, we're treating it for the returning players, we're treating it like the first game of next year. Just like Jay said, there's a chance to generate some momentum going into next season.
Question in the front.
For Aaron and Jay, how are you guys approaching junior college players getting an extra year? And have you had discussions with Darius and Maury Bamba, on both of your sides, and Jake too, about what they want to do?
Well, I think that there's still a lot that's out there to be decided on exactly what that ruling is, but we do have a few really good players that fall into that boat on both sides of the ball, and we'd be very excited to get those guys back if we can.
In the back.
It's for Isaiah and Tyler. I just wanted to know, since y'all been in San Antonio, I know yesterday y'all had the pleasure of going to SeaWorld and riding all the rides. So how was that experience being in SeaWorld, and then how's it just been being here in San Antonio and seeing the Alamo and all that?
It was crazy, actually. I've never actually seen a dolphin before, so I don't know. Being able to see a dolphin kind of blew my mind, and then just riding the rides, I don't know. It might have looked like I was crying, but I was not, I promise.
Sure.
Yeah, it's been great being in San Antonio. We've been in and out of Texas and got to sample different parts of Texas over the past couple years. And San Antonio's been great. SeaWorld was a ton of fun with the guys, going on all the rides and just hanging out. Seeing all the animals and everything. It was a lot of fun. So we've really enjoyed our time up to now.
For Aaron and Jay, just obviously this is a team that's on your schedule for next season too. I mean, what is the challenge of that, and what are you hoping to get out of this? I know both teams will look a lot different going into next season, but what are you kind of hoping to get out of seeing what they do on both sides of the ball?
I think the focus is just winning this game. I think that game will come when it comes, and we'll see what each team looks like at that time. But the focus right now is to win. They're a very good team. We have to be ready to play. And they have to be ready to play us too. I think we have a good football team too, and to look ahead too far would be a mistake.
Front
row. For Jake and then Chase, obviously the other quarterback is getting a lot of accolades. Jake, how does that affect your mindset? And then for Chase, how does it affect your mindset that on the other side, the other receiver in the game, or the other big receiver is the Heisman Trophy winner?
Shedeur is obviously a great player. It's been fun to kind of watch him play a little bit. But we quarterback comparisons is something we love to do. But at the end of the day, I'm not playing against Shedeur. I'm actually playing against his defense. What he does has little to do with what I do. So I'm focused on, putting the ball in the end zone for our team against their defense. I'm not going to be worried about that. I know the 4 guys on the other side of that table are going to worry about him and take care of him, and then I'm going to do the same with the defense.
Yeah, I love players that love the game and that do things right on and off the field. And I think Travis Hunter's a guy that does that. So I look up to him, and I'm just excited to go against him on the other side of the ball too. I'm excited that he plays corner as well, and to watch him in his game and learn from him. And it's just a challenge. I love the challenge. I want to go against guys like that. It's what you dream of as a little kid. To go against the best players in college football and then make it to the NFL and go prove yourself in the NFL. So my goal is to, obviously win the game as a team, and then also to play well and to show that I can play and that we can hang as a team with these great players. So I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
Front row.
Sticking with you, Chase, since it's the first time we've gotten to talk to you since you posted a little something on Instagram about coming back. Can you just kind of walk us through a little bit your decision to come back for your final year, sort of maybe some of the feedback that you got, and maybe the most pressing question is, how'd you decide on the song for your Instagram announcement?
Yeah, that was a good one, huh? No, our media team is awesome. They helped me out with the song and all the video and stuff. They did a great job. I mean, Jake was a big part of coming back, and having Jake back another year, being able to have that connection, work in the off season, that's gonna be so fun. And I think it's only gonna up, our play as a team and also our opportunities to go play at the next level as well. And we have a great staff, a great community, just everything about BYU. It's hard to not take advantage of another year if you have one. And that's the biggest thing. I prayed about it and took it to God, and it felt like the right thing to come back and go win a Big 12 championship. That's going to be the goal. And so I'm excited to come back and be a part of this staff again and this team. I love my brothers, and it's going to be fun. But we're focused on this game, and it's going to be the first game of the season, kind of ride momentum into next year. So we're excited.
All right, let's go. Final question in the back.
Jacob, so you have 11 career interceptions. You're now tied for second in BYU history since 2000 and tied for fifth in the FBS with active career interceptions. So what's been the key to your success, and what does it mean to you to be among the best in the country?
I'd say for sure just trusting what Coach Hill calls. I mean, he sets us up to get interceptions. He always talks smack to us during practice about he'd get more interceptions than all of us, and I believe him. I believe him because, I mean, he sets us up in the perfect position to get plays. So, yeah.
There are the Cougars. A big thank you to them for taking the time. Looking forward to this matchup tomorrow night. Once again, it'll be a 5:30 Cougar pregame show here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie and myself getting you ready for that matchup and full postgame coverage as soon as the game goes final as well. Coming up next, PK joins the show. We'll run the world of sports, cover all the headlines we haven't had a chance to touch on. We almost have for a full week we haven't been on air, so we got a lot to cover. And what is trending? That's coming up next right here on DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag Utah Jazz.
It's disappointing because you leave with this feeling. The fourth quarter is the most recent feeling that we have, but I thought it was 3 quarters of really good basketball by our team. I thought the fourth quarter, a few turnovers at times that hurt us, but to come out of the fourth quarter, we scored 32 points in the fourth quarter. I feel like the offensive side of the ball is playing pretty well. Defensively tonight, the fourth quarter cost us.
That's Will Hardy talking about the Jazz. Yeah, it cost you, but I think it would have cost you more if you would have won. This is serious stuff here. We can laugh about it. DJ thinks it's funny. I think it's serious that they need to lose, and they did. They came up huge in the fourth quarter. The Blazers scoring 41 points and the Jazz only 32, which is not bad. I shouldn't say only, but they lose by 2. And the youngsters played well, man. Every up and down. I don't know that I can look at any of the guys who are 23 and under and say, wow, he didn't really make a contribution. Except for Taylor Hendricks and Keontae George, and neither of them played. So, of course, they're not going to make one. Other than that, it was an entertaining game. They had it going on for a bit there, and they did not lose. All right. They did not win, I should say. I'll take that. I'll take that any day. They fall to 7-22. They need to keep losing because they need that draft pick. That is faux show, as the kids say. They're back in action tomorrow against the Sixers at the Delta Center. 7:30 is the tip-off. 6:30 with Jake Scott and Timmy Lacombe right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Let's move on to the NBA.
Hashtag NBA.
A bunch of games. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This guy's an MVP candidate. 45 points as the Thunder come from behind and win. That game was on NBA TV. I was flicking back and forth on that. I got caught up in some bowl games that I couldn't name you 2 or 3 guys on the team except for Kansas State, but they were exciting games. We'll get to that in a second. So other than that, I saw that the Wizards won. That's good news for the Jazz as the Jazz continue to battle for the worst record in the league. Yeah. That is good news. Absolutely. Some other stuff. Man, Grizzlies scored 155 points. Wow. Man, that's a team record, isn't it? It's got to be.
It was a team record, yes.
Yeah, that's just incredible when you go along that lines. Pat Riley says the Heat ain't trading Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler says he wants out. There's been all sorts of rumors, the agent refuting the sources guys on ESPN and going back and forth. So you got that thing going on there. And the Pistons won 2. Pistons are not bad, so I don't know that the Jazz will be in contention with them. And the Sixers on Christmas Day, they beat the Celtics when they got their guys. That they're pretty good. Their guys being, of course, Embiid, Maxey, and Paul George, and the rest of the gang. They'll be in town here for the game tomorrow night. All right, college basketball, conference play starting up.
Hashtag college basketball.
You got Utah State facing San Diego State. Utah State picking up a nice win over the weekend, pretty much blowing out St. Mary's up there in St. Mary's, Moraga. Yeah, that was a nice win for them. Now back in action. They already got that win a couple weeks back over Wyoming. Tip-off set 4 p.m. And we'll have the action with Scott Gerard on the call on the KSL Sports Zone beginning at 3:30. UVU also will host Bethesda at 2 p.m. on ESPN+. Let's move on to the NFL.
Hashtag NFL.
What a snoozer of a game last night, huh? The Seahawks 6-3 over the Bears. Okay.
Wait, there was a game? What?
Yeah. I saw the score and I thought, I don't really even want to watch this. And
it was
I didn't.
Brutal because I'm with you, PK. I was watching a lot of bowl games, and I was like, maybe I should check out the NFL game. I pulled up my phone, looked at the score, and said, nope.
Right. That's precisely what I did, too. We saw on, Christmas Day, the Chiefs routing the Steelers. And how about this? The Ravens 31-2. That's an odd score there, 31-2. Lamar Jackson in that game, I watched all of that game. He looked awesome, extending plays, and he wasn't looking to run. He was looking to make the throw. And I don't know that I've seen every single game of his. I've seen many highlights of his, obviously. I can't imagine that he played much better in any of his other games than he did on that particular game against the Texans. Just looked incredible. And I think that they're a legitimate contender for the Super Bowl, for sure. I think in a one-game situation. Obviously, to me, I'm still going with the Chiefs. I've been saying it all season until I see otherwise, see them lose. Then they're out, obviously, if they lose. But at this point, to me, I put Baltimore in that discussion, in that serious discussion. Obviously, Buffalo. We'll see what happens in a couple of weeks as we, what's this? This is the next to the last week season of the regular season coming down here. Some games. We got a couple games tomorrow as they move over to Saturdays. You've got the Chargers and Patriots, Broncos and Bengals, and Cardinals and Rams. And then Sunday, Cowboys, Eagles, I guess. But both quarterbacks going to be out. I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to start. Talking about Pickett, the kid who played at Pittsburgh, being in there. Packers and Vikings. Yeah, that's a huge right there on Sunday. That is in the later game. And then you got the Falcons and Commanders. Commanders doing well with Jaden Daniels there at quarterback. How about this story? Longtime NFL quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. He won a state title as a high school coach in Miami. He's returning to play for the Lions as a backup to golf. That's an interesting story right there. Did well as a coach. When I saw his name pop up, I thought, oh, is he going to get a college job already after doing that? But no, he's going to go back and make some more money in the NFL. Good for him. Okay, let's move on to the Cougars.
Hashtag BYU.
Oh, yeah. Big time tomorrow. Number 17 versus 23. That's BYU versus Colorado at the Alamo Bowl tomorrow. Kickoff 5:30 p.m. We'll be talking about this all morning. Really looking forward to this game. I think this has as much sizzle as any game, not a playoff game. I think it's right there with any one of them. And it might even be better. And obviously with the local angle for us, it is better. But I'm talking about for people who are not working or fans of these two teams, that they might want to watch this game either way. And Colorado's a very entertaining ball club to watch play. Shedeur Sanders, I think, is a marvelous quarterback, and obviously Hunter doing his thing. And then the Cougars, man, 10-2, move to 11-2. Any way you slice it, 11-2 is a great season. 9 times out of 10, you'd take that, unless maybe you're Alabama or some of these other teams that doesn't include a playoff inclusion. You would take 11-2. The Cougars have this opportunity. I don't even know what the line is. You know what it is, Yak?
I thought it was Colorado by 3, but that may have changed.
Okay. Cougar pregame show with our guys, Alex Keary and somebody named Jake Hatch. It'll begin at 4:30.
That guy's a hack.
And then do the... What'd you say?
So that guy's a hack.
Oh, our guy? No way. Oh, man. This is your time to shine. I'm really looking forward to this game. I'm not joking here. This is something that I'm excited to watch. Let's move on to college football.
Hashtag college football.
Okay, the games that I was talking about that I got sucked into. Toledo beating Pittsburgh 49-46. They say it a bowl record 6 overtimes. I mean, it could be one play, 2 plays max. You could score the 2-point conversion. They could score the 2-point conversion, and that counts as an overtime. So to me, it's just one overtime extended until they get a winner, because it's not like you're playing a 10-minute overtime. So, wow, that's an extra 60 minutes. But nevertheless, the game was exciting. Plus, It was crazy, too. I don't know if you were watching it, Yak, but they had a sack. Toledo gets the sack, thinking the game's over, but no, there's a holding penalty. Then Pittsburgh, they think that Toledo thinks they stop them and short of the end zone in the two-point conversion. They celebrate again, and no, they overruled it.
Yeah, the
quarterback did get in.
All that stuff, yeah.
And finally, they got in. That was incredible. It was a fun game to watch for something that doesn't really have a whole lot of meaning. The players, they sure celebrated. Toledo, it's the second time that they beat a Power 4, I guess, team in a season where they had 2 wins over those Power 4 teams, I'm trying to say. So Toledo moves up 8-5, and then Pittsburgh 7-6. I don't even know what bowl game it was in. What was the game? I don't even know what game it was. Was it the Music City? Because it was in Detroit.
No, so it used to be the Motor City Bowl. They've since changed that name, but it's there at Ford Field. I don't remember what the name of it was. They keep changing names so often these days.
Right, yeah. And then the other game, I watched this game because a Big 12 team. It was the one in Phoenix that they played the Diamondbacks game.
The Rate
Stadium.
Bowl.
We went to that game. Yeah, my wife was watching the Rate Bowl. I said, well, what's the Rate Bowl? I said, I don't know. But and they, as you say, they've changed names so many times. The funny thing, they beat Rutgers. They were down big, and they had a huge rally, 44-41. That game was fun to watch too. Both those games were fun to watch. I watched both those games before it was time to pay attention to the Jazz. And Rutgers going down. It's funny, that's the second time they played. I think, it was called the Insight Bowl or something way back when. And several years ago, Rutgers played in that game. They played the Sun Devils, and I happened to be in town visiting family for Christmas. I went to that game. So they're back after all these years. Shiano taking them back there, and Rutgers goes down. And the Kansas State team wins. They rallied. So I think it would have been negative towards the Big 12 if they lost. Obviously, I don't know that it makes a big difference, but everybody else makes a big difference about this. And then today we got a bunch of bowl games, and you can check your local TV listings. I'm not going to go read through them. You can do it. And then there's some bowl games tomorrow. The playoff games happened while we were gone because we've been off most of this week. And, boy, that created a big stir there. I thought Herb Street saying that the wins don't matter, I thought it got taken out of context a little bit. I thought he was saying that it matters who you play, not just necessarily who you beat. But, man, all the folks that went after him, and then Shannon Sharp, who gave an opinion, and Stephen A. Smith gave an opinion about Ryan Day. Herb Street gives his opinion, say it'll be interesting to see what the First Take guys have to say now. And then Sharp took exception to that. So Sharp's allowed to give an opinion, but if on Ryan Day possibly being fired, but if Herb Street gives an opinion on Sharp's opinion, Sharp can get upset and basically threaten him. Okay, so he's allowed to give an opinion, but if Herb Street wants to give an opinion off the opinion, he can't give it. Not really sure that makes too much sense to me. So check your local listings. I'm not a TV guy. I'm not going to tell you what's on TV. You can look for yourselves. Let's move on to the hockey.
#NHL.
The hockey team, man, the hockey club. Colorado Avalanche tonight at the Delta Center, 7:30. ESPN 2, it'll be on at 7:30 tonight. They continue to play exciting hockey. Lost in overtime the other night. So there you go on that. They're 16-12-6. Coverage begins 6:30 with Utah Hockey Night right here on the Sports Zone. That is what's trending. Coming up at the top of the hour, we got Locke Man talking about the Jazz. 8:30, we got Brian Howell, beat writer for Colorado. 9 o'clock, it's Friday. It's our guy. And so our guy, who is our guy? Our guy's Kevin Graham. Yeah, he'll be there talking about all things football, what's going on, what does he think? He's a football connoisseur, plus he's just fun to talk to. What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. DJ and he's checking in coming up next, and we start talking about the big bowl game tomorrow for BYU. Stay with us right here on 97.5 Sports Zone.
This is Hanson Scotty.
Let's do it.
Look, I'm not a fan of Urban Meyer, but this kicker needs to shut up and go away. Do I think that he should have been kicked? Probably not. Do I think that Urban Meyer has the right to say, hey, beep, beep, make sure you make your beeping kicks? Yeah, he could say that as a coach. Let's say we're all having a meeting, me, you, and Lloyd, and Nate Dowdle walks in and kicks me square in the quad.
What?
In the square in the quad and says to me, hey.
What?
Beepity beep.
Hit him where?
It's in the quad.
Yeah, that's an HR violation right there for sure.
I said
it's not me. I'm so happy.
Oh, my.
Oh, this made my day.
Oh, I so hope Nate wasn't listening to that.
Catch Hanson Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, The Zone. Who wants to talk some college football?
Yeah, I mean, it's always crazy how this works with the big, long layoffs that they have. You know, some of these teams are going to be 3-4 weeks, and then you've got the situation for the Cougs. Their bowl is a little later, and so that they last played, what, November?
It basically ends up being almost a month off. It's 4 weeks, I think, from game to game for them because they have a Saturday game.
It's kind of weird.
It is. Reset the emotion. I thought they were dragging a little bit at the end of the season. Partly it's the losses and the last game, even though they won it, they know by the time they play, they're eliminated. They find that out, partway into the game, early stages of the game.
Yeah,
and it didn't have the same vibe. And now, and of course they're going to say it, but I think the way they said it, I believe them. I talked to A-Rod at one of his availabilities, and it's about the bowl game and the match. Because, well, the number one thing about a bowl matchup is the team that's more excited to be there and comes with more energy tends to win, because that's what you need to win in football. It's a game that demands energy. You can't coast through it. So the more fired up you are, the better off you are. And I think they have a chance to be fired up for this. The fact that they're playing a team that's got this much glamour and this much sizzle around them, a ranked team, a team that shared the conference title. I mean, there's a lot of pluses to this, from players to coaches. There's sizzle all over the place.
Back in the day, this would be a gigantic game.
Yes, but now it's dwarfed by the playoffs.
But still, these teams, in my mind, didn't do anything that they have to apologize for in terms of their season. I'm not talking about behavior. I'm just talking about BYU lost 2 games by 9 points. All right. It happens. It's not like you gagged or had a disappointing season or any of that stuff. I just don't see that at all. And Colorado, that Kansas loss, okay, you should have won that, but you didn't. But other than that, I mean, come on, man. You had a really good season yourself. You got a shot to get 10 wins, and now you're playing a ranked team. This is really cool. As I look at it, the playoffs games are going to be bigger. I understand that. But if you take a non-playoff game, seems right there with anybody.
There's 3 that are getting mentioned, and I think one of them clearly doesn't belong. But I get why it's there. But there's this game, Miami and Iowa State, 2 more ranked teams, 2 teams that were right on the verge of going to the playoffs and got disappointed right at the end. I'm not sure their combined record off the top of my head, but it might be exactly the same. It might be a 10-2 team and a 9-3 team. Maybe it's 2-9-3 teams. I have to look that up. But it's close to the same record. And the other game that's getting mentioned is the Michigan-Alabama game, which I get that it's Michigan and Alabama and they're brand names and legends for a century and all that. But Michigan's 7-5. It just doesn't have the same allure to me. I know they're 7-5 with the Ohio State win, but they're not a ranked team that either has 10 wins or is chasing it.
How are you not including the Snoop Dogg Bowl?
Who's in that?
Hello? The other Miami.
Of Ohio.
And the other Colorado.
State?
Yes.
Okay. And what are their records?
Well, Colorado State had a decent season.
8-4?
Was it?
I don't know. I thought maybe it would show you in the bowl matchups you're looking at.
It don't.
Oh, boo. All right, I'll find it.
The Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. And
you love that game. You've been to that game. Tucson, baby.
Yeah.
That's where you saw the New Mexico State-Utah State thriller.
And that was literally a thriller.
It went overtime. Yeah, it was a good game.
An overtime game, as you say. Yeah, that's it. Well, it's a Mountain West, soon to be Pac-12, right?
Mm-hmm.
That game. And there's a bunch of games that got my attention. Baylor, LSU.
Miami and Colorado State, that's 8-4 versus 8-5. Yeah, that's not the same thing. They're not winning as much. Iowa State and Miami are a combined 20-5.
Okay.
So that's a little better.
I'll watch
than Colorado and
most likely
BYU.
Every Big 12 game.
I can see that.
See where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
UConn versus North Carolina and Fenway. UConn making the drive up.
We got to give the Citrus Bowl a shout out because South Carolina and Illinois are both ranked and are both 9-3. So that game's up there. That's a pretty good matchup.
ASU versus Bowling Green.
How about Baylor LSU? You can sink your teeth into that one.
I already said that
6 in a row. I know, but I didn't savor it. We moved on to the next one.
Okay.
Let's go back. Because here's what happens.
All right.
Here's what happens, though. Baylor's in the Big 12, and they're labeled, the Big 12's no good.
I got you.
And they're 8-4.
That's why I pointed that out.
LSU's 8-4, but they're awesome because it's the SEC. Now Baylor goes in and beats LSU. It'll probably be about who's not playing for LSU, and they don't want to be there. I get that.
And I will be rooting for Baylor.
That's a game that not only you watch because you get paid to watch sports, but if you don't get paid to watch sports, watch that game. A chance for the Big 12 to beat the SEC, and Baylor finished with 6 straight wins. They started 2-4. I should have put them when I did all the schools that had turnaround seasons. Should have put them in there.
I got no problem watching virtually any of these games. Now, there's some that I'm not going to go out of my way, but if I'm at home and I'm sitting there, I'm an American male, and I got a remote in my hand, and I'm on the lazy boy, and I'm eating nachos, I'm scratching myself. You get the point.
I was just hoping you'd move on. I was like, if he doesn't stop, I'm going to interrupt and start talking about Duke and Ole Miss. They're both 9-3. That's an underrated bowl game. Get to 9 wins. That's a level of that's got my attention. That's a level of success that matters.
Yes, and I'll be watching A&M hopefully bludgeon USC.
I really can't root for Texas A&M, but this might be the time I have to. USC blew up the Pac-12. If they stay, nothing happens. Everybody stays. It just all goes away until the next cycle. The Pac-12 will still be there. It's all on them. No way does UCLA go, so it never goes to Oregon and Washington.
Mm-hmm. So what?
They done did it.
I mean, it's stupid. I get that. Back on the 7th, way back on the 7th, I got a really good friend that he works for the Orange County Register now. Mm-hmm. Huge SC guy. Mm-hmm. He's been up here a number of times. You may have met him somewhere along the line. And I texted him on December 7th at 5:21 p.m. It's really fun to have your team in the new playoff. Hope your team can make it someday. I'm still waiting for a response.
That'll be interesting to see if they can handle the teams in that league and all the travel that comes with that league. I mean, they've had stretches where they've been awesome, but they've had stretches where they've gone a long time without winning.
Now, if the Devils somehow should win their Peach Bowl, I'm going to text him again. I don't care if he responds or doesn't respond. So I'm fine with just about all these games, man. It's college football. We got games. Season is coming to an end. Have at it. Let's play. So many of them, particularly now in the conference. I'm interested in the Big 12. I need to continue to learn about the Big 12. I need to learn more about Iowa State.
You'll probably say that the rest of your life because you had 40 years of knowledge built up, and you're not going to have 40 years of knowledge built up.
I know.
And we're learning about them in the present, but we're not going to go back and learn the history and build it up. I mean, generally, we know Iowa State's gone 100 years without winning the league.
Oh, they made a big deal about that.
115, yeah. Well, since Campbell got there, I've heard that story because he had him in contention. And so October 20th of, 6 years ago or whatever it was, I don't even know, somebody's like, they haven't won. It's like, ooh, that's a minute. That's Chicago Cubs territory right there.
Yeah. So I'm jacked for BYU in Colorado. I really am. Certainly, it is a local team playing, and they're the only local team playing, so that adds a lot of interest.
It is
weird.
We've been getting 2 out of 3 bowl teams most years.
I think it's fluky.
We haven't gotten all 3.
I think the Utes will go back next year.
We'll be at 2 or 3 next year.
I think Bronco Mendenhall, you got to give him a little bit, depending on how he finishes up in the transfer, and then you got the transfer portal that comes after spring ball.
Mm-hmm.
Basically April 15th to the end of April. Give it take a day or two.
Not as many good players available there, but you can certainly help your depth and get some help, especially as a G5 team. There might be a guy who can't play at a Power 5 who could be good for you.
Yeah, so see what's up there. I do think that all 3 teams in a year or two will be competitive, and it'll be some good football like it has been. So I'm not really worried about that. Bronco Mendenhall knows what he's doing. He's proven it 100 times over to me. He's got nothing more to prove as far as him being able to take a team that is down and making it competitive.
Well, when Utah State, and they haven't missed the bowls very often here in the last decade and a half. They've been in more bowls than not. When they have missed, there's usually been extenuating circumstances. Twice we've seen the season fall apart because of a coaching change. I assume we're not going to have that next year. And we just saw the Utes fall apart with quarterback injuries. Again, it's been outrageous for them 2 years in a row. Matt Harpering's law of numbers, even if they don't have a starter start 12 games, they shouldn't be going 4 guys deep.
I just worry about Bronco Mendenhall being called as a general authority of the LDS Church. Because now he's local, and they'll be back in the mindset.
That'll be super interesting to see how much he pushes that, because he did talk about that.
He won't.
Yeah. He won't.
He understood the situation.
That was the job then. It's not the job now.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with faith, and Blake Anderson talked about it.
Blake Anderson and Kyle Whittingham talked about it. I've heard Kyle ask guys if they've gone to church or whatever. It's not like it can't come up, but it not front and center as it often was, as it was with Bronco.
It's a church school, man. What the heck? Kalani does it, but everybody likes Kalani, so it's okay. Yeah. I'm waiting for the coach when he does the sideline interview to say, first and foremost, I'd like to thank the NIL who paid the quarterback who's really good.
That would be awesome. We've got a dozen boosters who made this possible. Yes. They provided the ingredients. I stirred it up and baked it.
And then if you want to credit deity and pronounce your faith, I'm okay with that.
I'd like to thank God and our local Ford dealers. What do you like? We got 6 car dealers here who made this happen.
And our quarterback and all the money that they're getting because these are really good players. So I'm excited for this game. I think it has the potential to be high scoring. I really want to see BYU's defense against that offense.
A-Rod insists that they are all sorts of fired up for this game. The quality of the opponent has caught their attention. A month removed from playing a game, guys are healthy. I mean, we talk about getting worn down mentally by what's going on in the season, but physically guys are worn down from getting hit every week. So they've been able to temper that, obviously, over the last month.
You go 11-2, that's a great season. Just because you didn't make the playoff and you got edged out on some cockamamie tiebreaker, and a ball hits a kid in the head and the helmet in Kansas State, or that's who it was, right? No, who was it?
Kansas.
I know it wasn't Kansas State. They beat Kansas State. Yes, Kansas. That's the game you lost, and come on. You will, as an institution, make millions off an 11-2 season every year. No doubt about it. Even 10-3 is not bad, obviously, but if they beat Colorado, great win, and there's going to be so much attention on that game with Travis Hunter and Deion Sanders, and so forth and so on, and yeah, I couldn't be more excited about this game. I'd be more excited if they were in the playoff. I get it. But if you're only sending one, if the Big 12 only gets one, that's a story for another day, I guess, is how come they were never really considered, speaking specifically of BYU, speaking generally of the Big 12, for a second berth. It seemed like once we got to the middle of November, it was just assumed and understood, well, you're only getting one.
And you can make an argument for BYU should be in at 10-2. When you look at which schools had bad losses and which schools had quality wins, BYU stacks up.
Right.
They lost because they're in the Big 12 and Kansas is 5-7. That's why they're out. If they had this resume and they were in the SEC, I think they'd be in. But they're not. They're in the Big 12, so you don't get forgiven for Kansas. Meanwhile, they're ranked below Alabama, and Alabama didn't get in either, but they're ranked below Alabama, and Alabama had two stinkers.
Yeah, but I think for Alabama it was about what you did, not what you didn't do.
Beating Georgia.
So if you beat them,
the Kansas State win got devalued over the course of the season because K-State ended up 8-4, not 10-2. Other people got K-State.
Right, ranked teams.
K-State ended up 5-4 in league, 8-4 overall, and that took some of the luster off the win.
Iowa State got them. ASU got them.
Yeah, I hear you.
Let's see. How did those two teams do?
And then K-State would tell you, well, if we had Colorado's schedule, we'd be in. Because Colorado, like Indiana, like Texas, every league has a team that caught breaks and ended up not playing top dogs. And we thought Colorado's schedule had been loaded up with top dogs, but the whole league ended up upside down.
Which is why it was nuts.
Yes.
Is that you assume one thing and it turns out you didn't have a break, but yeah, you did get a break because those teams weren't as good, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It was maddening to try to figure it out. So that's why I don't discredit Iowa State. I don't discredit Kansas State, BYU.
Well, and it's why
Colorado.
Yeah, it's why the Iowa State-Miami game and the BYU-Colorado game looks so big because you think with a couple of breaks it could be different and these teams could easily be in the playoffs. It doesn't take a lot of imagination. And that's my point about the Alabama-Michigan game is with Michigan, it takes a lot of imagination. It doesn't take much with Alabama.
Yeah, I'm not sure that game's getting the run that you say it is.
Okay.
But that's through my own personal bias.
Yeah.
I'm not to say I wouldn't watch it, but
because we'd watch a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
But like the Duke Ole Miss game.
It's all that sizzling.
The Duke Ole Miss game's getting no run. Nothing.
And yet I'm going to if I have the opportunity to watch it.
They're both 9-3. It's a fine matchup.
Yeah, I've got no problem watching that game. I've always believed if you win 9 games, you've got a really good football team. Mm-hmm. You win 10 games, I think you got a great football team. And I realize now they play maybe a game or two since I used to have that as the barometer for judging
but that's still
season.
Good because that's the regular season and it's the 12 games that we know are scheduled.
And especially in the Big 12, teams that play 9 conference games.
Which Alabama's not getting dinged for nearly enough.
Right. Alabama, you're basically gifted a couple of wins.
3. You schedule 3. You got to give them credit for going to Wisconsin. They tried to schedule a good game, and they went on the road, which has been a knock on SEC teams.
Yeah, I got it. They hammered them, but yeah.
They did. And Wisconsin ended up 7-5, so everything BYU fans can say about K-State, Alabama can say about Wisconsin.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But I just think 9 games. That's why I think there should be some uniformity to the sport to go ahead and have it be as level as possible. It'll never be completely level, but have it be as level as possible.
But everybody should be playing 10 of their 12 games against Power 5 schools. And if you're playing 9 games against Power 5 schools, I'm not liking it. Georgia played 10 games against Power 5 schools. I don't think Georgia should be taking any heat at all. They played Georgia Tech, and they scheduled the Clemson game. So even though it's only 8 conference games, they still played 10 Power 5 games, and then they ended up playing, I think, 5 ranked teams when it was all said and done, maybe 6. They play as tough a schedule as anybody.
Okay, yeah.
And then it didn't matter because ultimately they won the league and they got the automatic berth. But if they had been in the large mix, I'd have been sticking up for Georgia.
Well, they would have been.
Yeah. They would have gotten taken care of. Alabama didn't, but Georgia would have. I thoroughly believe.
One of the two. They weren't going to leave both of them out. You can't leave both of them out.
Right. And I think they would have left. I think they would have left Alabama out and taken Georgia, which is what I would have done. I would have taken Georgia and left Bama out.
There's 3, I think, preeminent teams at all times.
3 sacred cows: Ohio State, Alabama, and Georgia.
I was going Notre Dame.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I feel like a little luster off that rose.
But it's still,
not a lot, but a little.
Still Notre Dame.
I get it.
And then I think
I had no problem with them getting in 11-1.
The other 2 are rotational.
Who rotates?
Who's ever better. So for a while, Georgia was down.
Oh, so you're saying you have to have Georgia or Bama, and you have to have Ohio State or Michigan? So they're kind of rotating.
Yes, that's where I'm going.
You have to have USC or Oregon. You have to have Miami or Florida State.
And we'll see.
They didn't get either.
We'll see what Oregon does now in the Big Ten. If they produce 5 out of 6 seasons like this past one, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that's Big Ten or if that's just NIL era. And now they've got it, and
it's both.
They can go.
It's both. Yeah. I think it's you're in one of the 2 biggest conferences, and you go from there.
All right, DJ and PK, a lot of football coming up. Enjoy it. More in a moment right here on The Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Let's start off with the good news of Kyle Whittingham coming back. Tell me what that means for this Utah team and what kind of legacy are we going to see Kyle Whittingham hopefully set himself up for this next season?
He's worked too hard. He's accomplished too much of that program. He's the Lovell Edwards of Utah football. You think he wants to go out 5-7? Of course not. The challenge for Kyle Whittingham now is to come back with a renewed energy and vigor to turn this program around. Kyle Whittingham has to rebuild his own program. There's a lot of changes already. We're up past 15 players that are in the portal. He's got a brand new offensive coordinator in Jason Beck. Utah looks completely different now than they did even 3 or 4 weeks ago. This is going to be a lasting part of his legacy, is to turn around the program that went 5-7 and turn them into something special next season. And a lot of work Alex is going to have to go into that.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hot Takes or Toast, brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen with 30 years of serve in Utah. Well, Jake Retzlaff continues to push the line that this game between Colorado and the BYU Cougars, it is the People's Big 12 title game. Did you hear that, Yakamami? Did you hear him say that?
I did hear that. And he ruffled a few feathers down in the desert.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, and where am I from?
You are from the desert. So did it ruffle your feathers?
Let me tell you, man, Jake Retzlaff, he's on my list now.
Ah, okay. Well, there we go. Watch
Yes,
out.
he is
Watch
on
out.
my
Jake Retzlaff's in
list.
trouble.
The people down in the Phoenix area is, wait a second. This is the People's Big 12 Championship game? Oh, how dare he say that?
Did you see the attendance at Jerry World, PK? He's got a point.
What was the attendance?
Poor. Let's just put it that way.
Poor?
Yeah, there was.
So we're into attendance smack now.
Might as well. Come on. I think that's what he's kind of drawing it off of. I think he thinks that BYU and Colorado would have represented better there in Jerry World in the Big 12 championship game.
What is he, Herb Street now?
Yep.
So we just go with
call him
the wins don't
Jake
count?
Kirk Herb Street Retzlaff.
The wins don't count.
They do count, but you used the term earlier, cockamamie tiebreaker scenario that got BYU knocked out of the Big 12 title game and got Iowa State in. There's a lot of argument from Cougar fans out there that BYU should have been in, but as you point out, PK, you got to win your games. And that game against Kansas, you lose that game, you forfeited any control you had at that point.
Yeah, that's the reality of the situation, and I think we're going to have that more often, obviously, going forward there as far as with these 16 teams and nobody's
try
playing
18 in the
everybody.
Big Ten and
You're gonna
everything,
have
yeah.
teams. Yeah, you get to the top there, and predictable 4 teams at 7-2, and you got to figure out this way, that way, and you come up with the 2 teams that advanced. That's kind of crazy that way. I don't know what they can do to separate it unless they hadn't went back to divisions. If they want to do that, and then you risk not having your 2 best teams. Did you have your 2 best teams in here this time? I don't know if you did or didn't. I mean, it's the way of the world here, and it's what we're going to have. Certainly with the Devils, you had the hottest team. I mean, they were at one point they were 3-2 in conference, and guess how many games they lost since? That would be 0. So once they got at 3-2, they did not lose again, to the shock of everybody. But yeah, I saw that he ruffled some feathers, as you say, down in Phoenix. How dare he? So Retzlaff, the people's title game. I put that on Facebook. He said it jokingly, Steven says, but I do think the tiebreakers are stupid. Yeah, you do think they're stupid unless they had BYU in there, and then you would have thought they were great.
Bingo. Yep.
I think there's more interest in this game than there was for ASU, Iowa State. Okay. How much of that is Deion and Travis Hunter and his son Sanders?
I was going to say, here's the thing. Colorado brings a ton of eyeballs with them. Like, when you have the Heisman Trophy winner playing in this game, there's a lot of attention. And I would argue, PK, that more attention on this game goes to Colorado side of things because, as you mentioned, Coach Prime, Shedeur Sanders, and obviously Travis Hunter.
Sure. Yeah, so they could have played Chico State, and there would be a big amount of interest because it's Deion Sanders. So you've got Deion Sanders there. Oh, man. Ute fans, can you believe it? You're going to end up rooting for Colorado. Tyler, I can't wait for Colorado to put up 50 on them. Tyler again. They had a chance to go to that game. They choked. Utah will rise. Go Utes. Well, will they rise? Yes, at some point they will rise. Will they rising? Oh. That'd be funny if he came back and they wanted him back and all that. Shane, Retzlaff is clueless. If he didn't throw the ball to the other team so much, they would have had a legitimate chance at the championship. How many interceptions did he have? Did he have interceptions? Were they be doggling him this year?
Well, the one that sticks in everybody's craw is that one at Kansas. He throws that in the end zone, and that one I think is the one everybody kind of gets hung up on.
Yes. The pass that was not a pass to his own team. That hurt. No guarantee if that ball falls incomplete that they score a touchdown. But obviously in the situation, that's the last thing you want is an interception.
So on the season, PK, he has 20 touchdowns against 10 interceptions, so a 2-to-1 ratio.
Not bad. Not bad. And now with this nonsense that if you play junior college ball and youth football and high school, you'll never run out of eligibility in college. I mean, they just keep extending it.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Junior college doesn't count now. I don't what it's if you missed any time, any game, one play, if you missed, you get that year back for injury. I mean, this is getting out of control. Like what Sarkisian said, what's the point here? We're going to have 28, 29-year-olds playing college football. So I guess that's just this year's guys. So Retzlaff doesn't. If it's just this year's guys, why isn't all junior college guys too? Why is it just if you played junior college if you're a senior this year?
Yeah, if Jake Retzlaff wants to challenge for that year, all he's got to do is petition, and I'm sure they'll say, "Yep, you're good." Like that.
God, this is nuts. I don't know where they're going with this. This is the college football. Just no rules, whatever you want. Who says you have to turn the ball over if you don't gain 10 yards after 4 downs? That's just some arbitrary rule. No, petition. We get to keep the ball. I mean, let's just change everything. This is nutso. All right. There you go. We'll hit that more as the morning progresses. Coming up next, we'll have David Locke checking in, see what's up with the Jazz. Stay with us right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. You can submit your nomination to KSLSports.com/contest. And listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. Okay, man, joining us now is our guy for his weekly visit. Sans David James, but I'm here, and so is David Locke. We know him. We love him. He calls the games for the Jazz right here on our station. Mr. Locke, good morning.
Good morning, Patrick Kinahan. My voice is not working yet this morning. These are my first words of this morning. Sorry.
Well, you will get there. You always do get there. I have no doubt that you will get there.
It was a fun one last night. You had to use a little firepower there late. That was a good one.
No question. And as I'm watching this game, you know, DJ, he jokes when I say this is exactly what they wanted, because I really think that they're investing on the draft pick, and they've got to get as high as possible. I think it's imperative for the future of this franchise that they get a high pick and then they draft a quality player. It's necessary. So under the circumstances, as I look at this game, watching it from start to finish as we do, that I thought that it was right up the alley of what they need. They played well. Portland got hot and made some shots there in the fourth quarter. And, Henderson with that nice shot there at the end, he took about 14 steps. His pivot foot was all over the place. I thought I was watching hockey there for a little bit. The young, particularly the young guys, zero in on the young guys. And as I look at the young guys, the only two young guys who didn't play well against the Blazers were Hendricks and George, because they didn't play. What do you think?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a good experience. Cody got to finish last night. You know, he's probably not playing up to that level, but Will's giving him that experience. Filipowski got some important minutes last night. And then Collier obviously got to run the show last night, showed some flashes, and then also, had some real mistakes. I mean, he's got to figure out what to do. I mean, he had his fourth quarter box score alone, I think, was like 7 points, but 4 turnovers. And so he's got to figure out, when he drives in the lane, he's just not big enough. He's not athletic enough to get over the top. And he's just getting in deep, and he's just in serious trouble. Can't get that shot off, gets it either blocked or then when he tries to throw a pass, there's no passing window. So he does a lot of things really well, but he's going to have to learn. I mean, that's the whole explanation. And it's harder. He and Scoot are very similar in that they don't have outside shots, and they have all this athleticism, all this power, and all this strength, but no outside shots. Scoots is better than Isaiah's, but it's hard to play in this game if you can't shoot from the outside.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking of specifically. He got the ball and on the right side, and he saw a little bit of opening, and then it closed real quick, and it's like, okay, what am I going to do? And then you jump in the air, and then at that point, probably not good things are going to happen as the defense collapses on you. As he learns that, what needs to happen? Is it something with the coaches, Hardy in the film room, him having to go through it first to see it, so therefore they have something to show him? How does he learn to not do that, I guess?
I mean, I think it's going to have to be some sort of a mid-range jump shot. There's going to have to be some sort of a floater. Very in vogue shot in the NBA for all those reasons, right? Because of the fact that, most guys aren't big enough to get there. Figuring out when is right and when is wrong. I mean, I think, learning I just tried that again, it didn't work. So when do you make the decide that okay, I yes, that window's big enough. No, that window's not. And then also probably some Nash dribbles, right? Where you dribble through the paint, come out back the other side trying to make a play. Because you didn't give it up because the window closed on you and you kept it alive and brought it around the other side.
Is that something you saw Chris Dunn learn? Because it seemed like he got that, and then that solidified his spot in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a pretty good comp. Dunn's a little longer, but Dunn added the floater in Portland, and that gave him a little bit of a chance. And then his three just got progressively better. Still, he's still not guarded much. So it's still an issue. And then, I think that's a good comp. I mean, if you go back and look at Dunn's numbers, he was really low percentage at the rim and in the floater zone. And then when he came out of the G League, he got better at that.
As I look at all these guys 23 and under, there's so many of them, basically almost half the roster. The best guy who's playing in that situation consistently, George is on the come, no doubt about it. But I think consistently this season is clearly Kessler. How much do you attribute that to the fact that when we go to 23 and under, which is still ridiculously young, he's the oldest of the group?
Right. I mean, he's got that extra year. And, he had the sophomore slump per se. My theory on what happens to these guys is they come in the league, they're great, right? They're the best player that's been on the team by definition. They come in the league, they have success at some things, they fail at a bunch of stuff. They go to the off season, year number one, and they go work on all the things they failed at, which seems logical. But then they come back, and you know what happens? They fail at all of them again because the league's hard. And so they fail at all those same things, and they didn't get better at any of the other stuff. And then in between year 2 and 3, they go to the off season like, I better make my money on the things I'm good at. And they work on those, and they get better at those. So Walker's strength improved. He's a better rebounder. He's a better shot blocker. He's a better defender. Those are the things that are going to make Walker money. Maybe he adds some other stuff, but it's not going to be a mid-range jumper. It's not going to be off the bounce game. It's not going to be a three-point shot. Maybe over time. But what makes Walker great is his defensive presence, his rebounding, and then he's really what's changed everything for him is when they switch defensively, he can guard out on the perimeter and do a pretty good job. Like his defense last night on the perimeter was good, and it has been most of the year, and that really is a huge game changer for what the Jazz can do defensively with him. The discussion at the Christmas bar was, are there 15 players in the league better defensively than Walker Kessler? Not bigs, just players. And the general feeling is Walker's top 10 defensive player in the league.
So does that make him the most tradable asset in terms of being able to get back the most?
Maybe. But he also matches the timeline. Like, you got to figure out how much you're willing to pay him. But, if we're going to be good again in 30-31 or something like that, his timeline, he would be a valuable, he'd be 28, 29, he'd be a really valuable piece. So I think you're probably looking at the guys who, by 30-31, aren't as valuable a piece.
Now, did you just randomly pick that season, or do you think that's what they're shooting for?
I randomly picked that season, but you can kind of logically deduce it. Like, you need to have a top 10, a top 20, top 50 player in the league. If you're doing it via the draft, then you're hopefully getting one this year. You might get another one next year. You're trying to probably get another one the year after that. You probably, let's say you hit on 2 out of the 3, and they need 3 to 4 years to develop. So that's how you get there.
David Locke joining us. You look at what Oklahoma City did, and they're kind of a team to look toward as far as rebuilding. And they get a superstar before he became a superstar, obviously, in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and he puts up 45. I mean, he's an electric player here and belongs in the MVP discussion. Can that happen via trade? Can you get somebody who is, I guess, maybe undervalued at the time, or whatever reason they give him up to get a Paul George, And it looks like in Oklahoma City's made a number of good acquisitions throughout their history in Oklahoma City, but I can argue that that is the best one. Is that something that is possible, or did they forget about it? It happened once, but don't plan on it.
Seems pretty unlikely. Like, you'd have to have a superstar like Paul George. And then there was the whole Kawhi Leonard part of that Kawhi Leonard wasn't signing with the Clippers unless Paul George did. So they were kind of in a box, and Oklahoma City had them. Seems pretty unlikely. And he's not just like, he's number 2 MVP candidate last year and probably number 2 again this year. So he's top 5 player in the league. Like,
who do you got as number 1?
Jokic is number 1 player in the league.
Yeah, I mean,
and
as
MVP. Giannis and Shea are right there, and Doncic if he's healthy. And Tatum probably deserves some conversation.
Yeah. When you look at going forward here with the Sixers coming in, you put them out of the race to the bottom. Are they just too good, and they're a team that the Jazz don't have to worry about as they try to get whether it's top 5 or top 3, whatever it might be?
And you have to check the standings for him, but I think they're like a game out of the play-in and 3 games out of 6th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're much more a title contender than anything else. Like, they still have Paul George, who hasn't played well yet, Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid, who hasn't really played well yet. I don't think they've lost 2 in a row for a long time. They've righted that ship. They're going to be in the top 6. Boston, Cleveland surely hope so, because they don't want Philadelphia in the first round after having this good a regular season.
Yeah, really. Good point. How do you think Hardy handles these situations like he had with Portland? It's not like with George being out and John Collins not playing and Clarkson not available. It's not like he had a ton of options to go to anyway. But how do you think he handles these situations in which they're really competitive and they make a play or two, they win the ball game, but what's best for the franchise? You see what I'm trying to get to the point there as his coaching, because in the moment you want to win, but stepping back, it's better long term for that 30-31 season if you lose.
Yeah, I don't think once a game starts he's trying to lose, but I do think he's playing rotation minutes with the knowledge that the development of the player is more important than the outcome of the game. Like, he ran that young group for a long time. He ran 3 rookies together for a while last game, which he's never done before. Or at least I don't think he had. He ran that younger group out longer than like Lowry and Collin. We've been on the road for a long, long time. So there could have been a fatigue factor he was keeping an eye on. But, like, Johnny was playing well. But Collin didn't come back in until like 4 minutes left, and Lowry didn't come back in until 6 minutes left. Those very easily could have been substitutions at the 7 and 9 minute mark, and they weren't.
Right. That's what I noticed.
To get those guys extra minutes and extra opportunity. And they close with Cody Williams, where I think, logically last night probably Svi Mykhailiuk, defensively not as good, but more mature, understands the situation. But that's not the point. The point is to let Cody have those minutes and get that feel.
Right. Right. I mean, to me, that was one of the more obvious games as far as what you're talking about. And I thought, well, maybe he has no choice because of the players that weren't available. Because I was surprised that Williams was out there as much as he was out there. And I'm thinking that's got to be hard on a coach whose instinct is to win, but you've got to look at the bigger picture. So he basically has to balance that in certain situations, and the Trailblazer game was probably the classic example of him having to do that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that was pretty clear last night that with the injuries he had, he saw it as a real opportunity to get those guys minutes. And so I think you're analyzing it correctly. Clearly John Collins, if he's healthy, is finishing, and probably Jordan and Keontae. And so in that circumstance, you now have a chance for these other guys to get an opportunity to finish, and he took advantage of it.
Have you talked to Will about it? Is it hard on him as a coach when he does that? knowing that he's probably given up an opportunity to win?
Yeah, I mean, I think he understands the long-term vision. There's pretty good connection between the front office and communication between the front office and Will. So I think Will knows what is expected and how to proceed and what he's being judged on. I think that's the key. But I'm sure none of this is easy on anyone. Right. I mean, the irony is like the roster's pretty good, right? Like Portland's got a little bit of the same issue, like except for a bunch of their guys are having their worst year of their careers. So it's kind of weird. Like, but Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons, like usually are pretty good players. They're not right now. I don't know what's going on, but they're all having their worst years of their career. But they've got a similar circumstance going on where some of those players are pretty good. And, what are they trying to do? And Donovan Klingen's not ready to play more than 22, 24 minutes. And, so, physically he's just not there. And so, Washington's got it the other way. Washington just, got rid of everyone. They're playing as hard as they can every night, playing everybody's many minutes, probably playing the best player every minute. And they're just not good enough. So I think it's
you're so go ahead.
I mean, I think it's just. I mean, I guess the difficulty for the front office or for the coaching staff is maybe there's going to be a time where you don't put the best player on the floor. Yeah, that's counterintuitive.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're so engrossed in the league. Do you hear buzz about these top guys in the draft?
I mean, Cooper's getting a lot of talk. Dylan Harper's getting a lot of talk. Ace Bailey, they're quieting a little bit. The kid in Baylor has mixed reactions. I mean, truthfully, I listen to one of our podcasts and hear what they have to say. I don't really know a lot.
Any buzz on the BYU kid?
Yeah. I think he's top 10. Don't you?
I do.
There's some feeling that people would like to see
he's
him
hurt
a little
right
more.
now, but
I mean, there's some feeling that some people would like to see him a little bit more against some different opponents, higher level guys.
Well, I think we'll get that obviously when we get by the time we get to March Madness between now and it all gets started here in the next few days, and then we get a real opportunity. And we've been told that he'll be back. I think they got this ASU on the 31st, and then the gauntlet of the Big 12 schedule is upon us. I'm really looking forward to it, to watch just to see how the Cougars do, but also to see how he does. And you mentioned that the Baylor kid, the guard that they have, and all that stuff. So I'm excited to mix in some college hoop. I don't get into it too much in November and December, but once January hits, I'm all over it. And to see what they look like.
The one interesting one on Cooper Flagg is he's like become their main pick and roll guy. He didn't do that any place else he's ever been. And so that's just a really big evolution and change of who he is as a player, which matches much better to his NBA player than he's really – he wasn't the primary offensive guy in a bunch of settings at the school he was at or for his main AAU team. And now he's, I think, running about 30-40% of Duke's pick and rolls.
All right, we appreciate your time and have a good New Year, and we'll talk to you again next Friday.
You bet. I'll talk to you soon. See you.
All right. Okay. That's David Locke, a tired David Locke, and I can understand because they're in Portland and they must have got back at 2 or 3 in the morning. But we're glad that he comes on and shares his insight as far as what's going on with the Jazz. All right, coming up next, what's going on with Colorado? Man, are they listen to Dion, and it looks like they're ready to play. Nobody's sitting out, and that's really cool, I think. And we'll talk to Brian Howell, who covers the Buffaloes for the Boulder Daily Camera. Coming up next, live from San Antonio, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Coach Bear, the Utah Hockey Club.
Clayton Keller, 26 years old. How much room for growth is there still at that point in your hockey career?
That's one thing I like about Kels. He has that philosophy of every day he's trying to be better. If he has a day off for his energy, he will do something else. He will read a book. He will watch a documentary or something who will make him better, who will make him grow. So I like that philosophy. And you talk about our identity as a team, that's what we want. We want to be hungry to be better every day. No matter what happened yesterday, we lost 6-1. There's nothing we can do about that. We won 9-2. There's nothing we can do about it. That's in the past. Now, what can we do today to be better, to go towards our goal to be a championship team?
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go out to San Antonio. Bring in Brian Howell, Colorado Buffaloes beat writer for the Buff Zone and the Boulder Daily Camera. Brian, I've covered some games down in San Antonio over the years, some bowl games. What's the level of excitement around town? It's a pretty cool town there where everybody seems to be on top of one another there with the Riverwalk.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement. I think that both of these teams bring a lot of fans, and I think that it'll be one of the more highly attended Alamo Bowls. I think you're seeing a lot of Colorado fans that obviously are excited about this team, and a lot of BYU fans that are pretty excited about being in a big bowl game and things like that. So I think the excitement is pretty high, and from what I've heard, the attendance will be pretty high.
Yeah, I suspect it will be for a couple of reasons. As you know, living out in the West, a lot of Latter-day Saint church members will go and support BYU when they're on the road, and certainly there's a bunch there in Texas. And then you've got, combined with that, you've got a lot of Deion Sanders supporters because he's pretty big in the state of Texas. He's big everywhere, but especially in the state of Texas. So I would imagine that there would be great attendance. And for me, obviously I have a bias here with we covered BYU and then also Colorado being in the conference with Utah and now in the conference with both of them. So I would be watching this game. But I think trying to be objective as possible, I can make an argument that interest level, this game, you got the playoff games, but set those aside, that there might be as much interest in any of these other games that are not considered a playoff game in the Alamo Bowl as there is any game being played in this bowl season.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think part of it is that you've got Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders who are planning to play, and I think that that's unusual around college football these days where stars will actually play. I mean, we saw Kansas State played in their bowl game last night, and their star running back DJ Giddens did not participate in that, and so you have excuse me, you have the stars that are playing in this game, and BYU's got almost its full roster, Colorado's got almost its full roster, so it's kind of an unusual non-playoff bowl game where you've almost got the complete teams playing each other.
Right, and that adds to it. We all like to see that, and the folks that we've watched the last 3 months are going to be there in this game, and I think that makes it more fun. Brian Howell, beat writer for the Boulder Daily Camera, joining us. As I look at what BYU can do to Colorado, I watched the Colorado Oklahoma State game, and that was a joke. So you throw that one out, and then but the game before that we saw them play Kansas, and it was a Kansas home game. And it wasn't played at their stadium because they're renovating it. But as I look at the box score, and I remember watching the game, Kansas really ran the ball well. What do you think about BYU's chances, if they're going to win, to be able to have to run the ball well, maybe not to the level that Kansas did because they were exceptional that particular day? Is that an opportunity for BYU to exploit, is the run game?
Yeah, I think so. And CU's run defense has been pretty solid most of the year. That one day against Kansas, I don't even know what happened. That wasn't the defense that I've watched most of the year. But, one of the best players on their run defense is linebacker Nakai Hill-Green, and he's the one starter that entered the transfer portal and is not here. So I'm curious to see how much that affects what CU can do defensively. But certainly we've seen them vulnerable against the run against some of the better backs. Kansas State also ran the ball against them pretty well. And so I do think that if BYU is going to win this game and be able to put some points on the board, they have to have that running element to it. I don't think they can just rely on Jake Retzlaff to throw the ball all over the yard. I think they've got to run the ball.
Yeah, and I think also, too, I mean, there's some great running backs in this conference this season. I mean, this was our first full, really all-in on the conference games here with BYU was in the conference, but Utah, I mean, there was no need to be paying attention to the Pac-12, which didn't exist anyway, but, you can really focus on the Big 12. And I enjoyed watching these teams play because just about every team had a really good running back that was capable. And you speak of Kansas, the Neal kid, I think he went over 200 yards against the Buffaloes a few weeks back. But they also have Kansas as a mobile quarterback. Do you think that Retzlaff is going to have an opportunity to pick up some yards through the ground on the ground with his legs?
Yeah, I think so. They've had some trouble with some mobile quarterbacks, and starting with week 1, North Dakota State's running back was the leading rusher that night, and I'm trying to think who else. There's a couple other teams that have had the mobile quarterback that they've been able to. UCF was one that their quarterback got a little running room, so I think he probably can. I think that's going to be it's going to have to be part of BYU's game plan. That's getting some runs out of Retzlaff, and if they can do that, I think that they can keep Colorado down a little bit. I think ball control is going to be a huge part of that, and that's why the running the ball is going to be probably big for BYU. Is that that's the biggest stat from that Kansas game is look how long they had the ball. I think Colorado had it for 17 minutes the entire game, something like that. So Colorado's offense was actually pretty good that night, but they just didn't have the ball. So if BYU can somehow control the clock, I think that'll be a big deal.
I am a huge fan of Shedeur Sanders. I really enjoy watching him play because I think that he's going to have an awesome career if he can stay healthy in the NFL, because I think he's the true quarterback in that as he extends plays, his eyes are always downfield. Some of these kids at the college level, you see them, they want to take off, and they can get yardage on that, and that's great. But for him, it seems like to me, in my experiences watching him, is that he knows where the line of scrimmage is, and he's not looking to pass it unless get past it unless he has to, meaning that he's looking to get the ball downfield to the guys who can make huge plays, to the playmakers. You've been watching him these 2 years. It looks like, from a distance, that he has made significant improvement from last year to this year. And as far as the college game goes right now, he's at the top of his game. Could you speak to what I just said as far as his improvement from when he first got there to where he is now as a quarterback?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that he's really good at those things. And, the end of that Baylor game early in the season was a prime example of that, where, he was basically backpedaling and threw a deep pass Hail Mary to win or to tie the game and go to overtime. But I think that for him, being with Pat Shurmur this year has really helped him. Pardon me this morning, but being with Pat Shurmur has really helped him. Shurmur obviously is a longtime NFL coach, and Shedeur spoke about this yesterday, that Shurmur's kind of been that, giving him some tools for the NFL. They'll get him ready for the next level. And I think that Shurmur's really added some things to his game that, maybe they're not, massive differences, but they're subtle differences to where he's better at this and he's better at that. He makes better decisions and things like that. So, he's completing 74% of his passes, which is incredible. And, he doesn't make mistakes, and he's just really good at those things. And he's not going to make mistakes. I know BYU forces a lot of those against quarterbacks, but it's going to be hard to do that against Shedeur because he just doesn't make those mistakes.
We're excited for this game, but everybody wants to have a program, not just a team. And what I mean by that, a team, you can have a good season. A program, you're expecting them to be good every year, and some years are going to be really, really good. And you look at these teams in the Big 12 that caught us by surprise this year. Obviously, I think you'd have to rate ASU as the number one surprise. I'd put BYU as the number 2 surprise. I'd put Colorado as the number 3 surprise, and what I mean by that is that
we knew they had a prolific offense coming back. We didn't know about the other two teams as far as that goes. And so Colorado was definitely a surprise, but I think the other two teams were more of a surprise. So we'll see what they can do next year, all three of them. And I wanted to hit on what's going on with the program. We know they got a hotshot quarterback came in because people might think, oh, wow, this is a flash in the pan. They had his son and Travis Hunter. Now they'll go off to the NFL, and both of them will probably be top 5 picks. So what are they going to be going forward? And we're going to be interested in that because they're in BYU and Utah's conference. So what do you think as far as them being able to go forward to maintain this momentum?
Yeah, I think it's a question for everybody, because they won't have Travis, they won't have Shedeur, and I think that's a big deal. But they signed Juju Lewis, who was a 5-star quarterback coming out of Georgia, and it makes me a little nervous going into next year with him because he's graduating high school early, and he's already at Colorado. He's practicing this week, but he's middle of his junior year, so he graduated high school after 2.5 years. But they also went out and signed Caden Salter, who's been a star quarterback at Liberty. He was the Conference USA MVP in 23 and took a little step back this year, but he's a dual threat type of guy. So I think they've got a couple quarterbacks that are now on the roster that they think can take the reins a little bit and keep this thing going. And they've got a really good recruiting class that they're on the verge of building right now, and so I think they're going to maintain it. I don't know if there'll be a 10-win season or a 9-win type of season next year, but I think that they're still going to be pretty good.
Yeah, when you think about it, after this year, who knows anything about the Big 12, and make predictions at your own peril, because this conference has been wildly shocking this season and wildly entertaining as far as that goes. I think that all of us, at least on our side of the mountains, were disappointed in the Pac-12 going away. How does Colorado feel about that situation? Because, they were they left earlier than the other 3 teams that went into the league.
Yeah, I don't think Colorado fans have thought one moment about the Pac-12 this year, honestly. I think that they've been excited about being in the Big 12. And I think for a lot of them, the only thought about the Pac-12 was when it came to bowl season, they realized, that we're still tied to those Pac-12 bowls. And, they're actually the Pac-12 representative in this Alamo Bowl, which is kind of weird. So, I think they're super excited to be in the Big 12 and looking forward to the future in this conference.
With that in mind, with the popularity that Deion Sanders brings, we look at you look at the teams here in our cities that are in the Big 12, and Kyle Whittingham has talked about an emphasis in going towards Texas more and maybe backing off California a little bit more now that they've changed conference. And I know Kenny Dillingham, they've got a big slogan, the Tempe to Texas thing going on. But I'm wondering, does Colorado really have a recruiting base? Given the name recognition of Deion Sanders, can they go anywhere, or where do they focus on?
I think they can go anywhere, but what we've seen under Coach Prime is he's from Florida, and he loves his Florida boys, as he says. And they recruit a lot out of Florida, a lot out of Georgia, and so they've got more Florida and Georgia guys over the last couple of years than I think we've ever seen in Colorado. And they also recruit heavily in Texas, but it's funny because California used to be their big recruiting base. They haven't signed one player from California this year, and I don't think they had one last year either. So, which is kind of stunning for Colorado history that there aren't California recruits. But it's basically Georgia, Florida, and Texas, and they'll get guys from anywhere else. But those are the 3 states I think that they really focus on.
Well, Brian, we thank you for your time. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you down the line.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, that is Brian Howell. You can catch his work at the Boulder Daily Camera, and he's also writes for the Buff Zone. As this game is just about what do we got? About 35 hours away?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, Yakman is going to be there, man. You going to be on the front row? Is your face going to be covered in blue?
Yeah, right. No. No, I'll be down there, though.
Yeah, big-time game. Looking forward to it. We'll get Kevin Graham's thoughts on it here at the top of the hour. And is this game really, people, the People's Championship game of the Big 12? We just dismissed Iowa State and the Sun Devils. Well, Retzlaff did. Oh, man. We'll get to that next. Stay with us right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Now let's get this party started. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
There are a couple of reasons that I didn't become a doctor.
Same reasons you didn't become a paleontologist?
Why do you crack a smile and then make a joke?
I'm just saying, there's a couple reasons I wasn't a lawyer. Number one, the LSAT scared me. Number two, I thought I'd fail miserably. And number three, I didn't think I was smart enough. So yeah, there are just a couple reasons why I didn't become a lawyer.
Can I make a point without you attacking me?
I'm not attacking you. Like, you've never talked about wanting to be a doctor before. To me, this seems like you were just right on the cusp of going to medical school, and then just these one or two little things came up and made you think, no, I'm not going to do that.
Doctor?
Doctor? Doctor?
Can you not attack me? You know, it bugs me when you do that.
Doctor? Doctor? Doctor?
Stop playing that.
And doctor. Well, we miss anyone?
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, our guy, Jake Retzlaff, he's calling this game tomorrow night the People's Championship. He's dismissing Iowa State and Arizona State. He's doing it because of attendance smack, Yak? Is that what we're going to do? Are we this is a BYU-Utah rivalry. Our stadium is bigger. We got more people than you, so nanner.
We're the sentimental picks, okay? Leave us alone.
But this is a bowl game. Wouldn't you have to compare the bowl games rather than games that are not bowl games? Is this fair, Jake? Are you really being fair? And I call you Jake, but I might as well be talking to Jake Retzlaff too.
That's a good point. I guess the thing about it is you look at the matchup here outside of the college football playoff, and I echo what DJ says a lot of times. You should create matchups that hold intrigue. This is one that holds a ton of intrigue. Because you mentioned you got Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders on the other sideline, and then BYU. We all know it draws eyeballs, and the Cougars trying to go to 11 wins. PK. You talked with Brian Howell about how surprising a season this was for BYU. Well, both of these teams, I think, surprised. So it's a fitting game to cap off a season. But yeah, to call it the People's Championship, I think it's going to ruffle feathers, and it already has.
I'm never going to speak to Jake Retzlaff again.
Well, he doesn't speak that often to begin. I'm just kidding.
But he speaks fast when he talks.
He does. He gets a lot out in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, I know people in the Phoenix area. I saw some guys that work at Bonneville Station in Phoenix. The leading sports radio station there is owned by our same company, Bonneville. And they quickly responded. One of their hosts said, yeah, this is for third place, not for first, buddy. How dare he do that? Oh, my gosh. I don't really care. They didn't get into the game. And they had the cockamamie tiebreaker rules, but I don't know that there's anything you can do on that. Too bad they couldn't have two-team playoff. One set up 2 games to determine who goes in to the conference final. Maybe they should move it back a week and do that, and then play it the week after, and have if there's a tie and they didn't play each other. And then probably if you have more than a 2-team tie, even if you have a 2-team tie, there's a good chance that the teams didn't play each other. Because the thing about the Big 12 title game is that ASU and Iowa State did not play each other in the regular season, right? And BYU didn't play Iowa State,
Correct.
Did they?
No, they did not. And
and they didn't.
The win percentage is what came out because they didn't play each other head-to-head. That would have helped, obviously, determine this, but they didn't play head-to-head.
Right. And did Colorado play Iowa State?
I don't think they did.
I don't think they did.
It's one of those.
Because they had 3 losses, and their losses, if they did, they beat them, but I don't think they did.
No, I don't think they played them.
They didn't play them because their 3 losses were Nebraska, Kansas State, and Kansas. That was it. And Colorado didn't play ASU, so you had all this stuff going on here. I'm kind of glad that we're seeing two teams from the same conference play each other that didn't play. Now, if they played, they probably wouldn't have had a bowl arrangement in that situation to
Correct.
have that tomorrow. So I think it was cool to put these two teams in. And I realize that it's an unusual situation that won't happen. It could happen again next year, not necessarily BYU Colorado, but the fact that two teams from the Big 12 could play each other in a bowl game next year because of the fact that it goes this year and next year before the bowl agreements run out within the conference with the Pac-12 there. But I think it's cool this year because I would have loved to see these two teams play, get a feel for how they would play against each other. And there's two very good teams, man. You win 9 games, I think you're good. The Cougars obviously went 9-0 and then went 1-2 down the stretch. They don't want to finish 1-3 down the stretch, and they can really punctuate a solid, extremely solid season. If you go 11-2, man, to me that minimum that's top 15, if not top 10. So we'll get Kevin Graham's take on all this coming up next. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome on in. Thanks for joining us. DJ's off today, but some guy who's always on is never off. He goes by the name of Kevin Graham, and he is quite the animated little person. Good morning, Kevin.
A little person. What am I, Elf?
It's the season, Elf, one of my favorite Christmas movies.
I just want to know that I'm a 5'9". I'm of average height, PK. All right? 5'9", I think, is average, isn't it? I hope so. I don't know.
I think it is, but you're slight of built.
Yes, that's true. That's good. So, hey, no DJ today. Does he actually take time off? I didn't pick that spot.
He did, yes.
No,
he goes every year. He goes to soccer camp, so he is up on his soccer.
That's great. Got to make it exciting, man, when they're just kicking the ball in the middle of the field. It's good. I get it. So,
you're not a soccer guy?
You know what? I've gotten better. I've appreciated more. I appreciate it at the highest level. Like the MLS, I'm still, I don't know. I know it's getting better, but yeah, when it's like World Cup, and I'll watch then and root for the American team that absolutely sucks. So I've said multiple times about soccer, not to go into soccer, but like we really should just disband the men's program. The whole get rid of it. We suck. We're terrible. Put all resources towards the women because they're usually pretty good, and let's just go there because we're just not very good ever. So anyways, there you go.
Correct.
There's your soccer talk. Yes.
Well,
there's your soccer talk.
We have on during the season, we have on players or coaches, management, I should say, on Friday, and one of them is their coach, Pablo Mastrioni. And the funny thing about, and you would know this since you have some Phoenix background, I grew up at 23rd Avenue and Greenway, and he grew up at 7th Avenue and Greenway. We went to the same high school.
No, really? So you were on the wrong side of the tracks, and he was on the right side of the tracks. I got it. So
yeah, so he I mean, I'm older than him. I'm older than everybody, but we went to the same high school, and his parents still live in the house that he grew up in.
Really? Well, there's a little fun fact. Yeah,
I know.
Good.
So we got a little Arizona connection there that bugs DJ, so we play it up as much as possible.
Yeah, well, that's good. How you feeling? Since we just have a conversation every time we do this on Friday. How you feeling about your Devils against the Longhorns? That's a double-digit favorite for Texas. I saw today.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one.
Well. Yeah, you got to go to the point of getting away from, all right, well, we've accomplished so much. Once you do that, you've lost. Mm-hmm. So you have to forget, you've had a marvelous season that exceeded anybody's expectations. No, even the players, the coaches, they'll admit it. Come on, no one had them. They were 3-2 in conference, and they haven't lost, right? Yeah. And good for them. It's awesome. that they've been able to do this, no question. And Dillingham, you live down there. I always felt there's a fan base. You just got to give them a reason to be excited. Correct. And if you do, they will be there. It's not like Stanford. Stanford was winning under Harbaugh and David Shaw, and they were still having trouble drawing. That won't be the case in Tempe. They'll be there in the Phoenix area. So he's given them the reason. They've responded. But you can't take the mindset of, this is house money. When it comes to sports, I hate that expression, house money, because I never believe in it. No. If you're good, that means you're good, so now you've got to go ahead and show again that you're good. Now, Texas, I watched them against Clemson, obviously, and they ate them alive. So it's going to be really, really difficult. But if they can run the ball with Scatterboo and come up with a couple of turnovers, if they can't, you look at the game, they lost 2 games, right? One, the quarterback wasn't there, Levitt. So the Cincinnati on the road, all right, their quarterback didn't play. So he's 11-1 when he's been there. And the other game that they lost was early in the season to Texas Tech. I think it was their first conference game. And Scatterboo only ran for 60 yards in that game. They lost by 8. I'm not comparing Texas Tech to Texas, but I'm saying that Scatterboo couldn't run the ball. And so if they can't run the ball, they're going to have trouble. If they can run the ball, maybe they got a shot.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I also think a big thing, especially with teams that are not used to being in this big of a spotlight like you're talking about, is the start, too. Like, if you can get out to a decent start, guys, we've seen so many games run this way where if the favorite jumps on you quick and suddenly you're down 14-0. I mean, I think that's when it's big time trouble, especially because, for Arizona State to win, they got to hold on to the ball and they got to run the ball, and you don't want to be playing from behind. So if they can start strong, I think they got a shot in it. Hopefully, I think it'll be a better game than the dogs that we saw in the first round of the playoffs. At least that's my hope. But I think that's the key. Start strong and hang in there. And like you said, just let Scatterboo run the ball and hope for the best and keep it tight. And get to the fourth quarter. You never know. If you're in the game and you believe and you're in the fourth quarter and you're only down a touchdown or down a field goal or even have a lead, then I think, things could happen. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing that one.
How much do you buy that the 2 teams that are under the microscope from the committee's decision is ASU and Boise, that they don't necessarily have to win, but they've got to play a competitive game, or else everything even more so is going to slant towards the Big 12, the Big 10 and the SEC, and we'll do away with buys for conference winners, and we'll make sure that those 2 conferences are taken care of because of the fact of Indiana and SMU getting smoked, and Clemson of the ACC wasn't really a competitive game. Ohio State put it on them right from the start. That it's important for the so-called little guys or the other guys that aren't in the big 2 conferences to represent well, and so that responsibility falls on the Devils and Boise.
Yeah, and I think it's unfair, but it's a dog and pony show, and you're going to have to put up a fight. I mean, if you look at this playoff system, you're already behind the 8 ball. I mean, already the SEC's clamoring because of the fact of, like you pointed out, Indiana and getting blown out and the struggles there. But so if Boise State and Arizona State can be competitive, I think that will at least lend a little credence to still allowing them to have that shot against a bye. But I don't know, man. I think after this playoff thing is over, even if those 2 teams are competitive or if they pull off an upset, the SEC and the Big Ten will do everything in their power to make sure that it tilts to them, that it's going to be a better system for them, meaning, like you just said, I think the buys will go away. I think they'll just seed everything, which will suck because I do think conference championships should mean something. But, it's SEC and Big Ten world, and everybody's living in it, and you just got to kind of accept the scraps. But I do think it'll help if Arizona State and Boise State at least play competitive. I think Arizona State can. I'm a little – I don't know. Penn State surprised me. They look pretty good in that in their win. So I don't know. I mean, but Boise State always finds a way to. They were the original giant killer back in the day. So they've had a lot of time to prepare. If they come out again, same thing with Arizona State. They play competitively. They get out to a quick start. They stay in the game. Then maybe that'll help. But on one end they have to play well, PK. I agree with you, but on the other, I think the little guys are going to get screwed no matter what. It's going to be SEC and Big Ten next year, and they're going to figure out the seeding system, and they're going to make sure that more SEC and Big Ten schools can get in over the Indianas of the world. Even though that's a Big Ten team, but they were. They weren't real. I mean, they played a very light schedule, and the easiest schedule you can play in the Big Ten, it seemed like. So yeah, I hope they're competitive because that will at least lend a little credence. But I still think in the end, the SEC and the Big Ten are going to get their way, and this thing's going to change probably next year, with the seeding and everything.
Longtime Salt Lake radio superstar Kevin Graham joining us as he does every Friday. Do you know Herb Street at all? Did you work with him in any of your 42 stops?
Yeah, I did. He was my afternoon drive host. When I left Salt Lake the first time to be the program director in Columbus, Ohio, he was doing our afternoon show. And that was right around the time when he started getting big. He was on the College Game Day. It really kind of sucked, to be honest with you. He was a good guy. I liked working with him. But he he was gone, like during football season. He was gone 3 of the 5 days a week because he's doing ESPN stuff. But so I know him. I haven't talked to him in years, but I did work with him back in the day, right as he was kind of starting to take off and become the big time analyst that he is now.
He had the controversial interview that they did where he talked about that wins shouldn't matter, and that blew up. And you got ESPN guys going after each other, and a lot of folks just going nuts on what he said. The way I took it, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm assuming you heard the interview and you know what I'm speaking about, that he was focused on the quality wins rather than the number of wins. He wasn't saying wins don't matter, but let's investigate the wins to make sure that they're quality wins. And he was pointing at Indiana, whose best win, I think, was over a 7-5 Michigan team. And I think 8 teams that they played had finished with losing records. I mean, 75% of their schedule basically was against teams that lost, that were losing records. So what do you think about that? Because I thought it had some validity, but I thought it got misinterpreted, or maybe I'm wrong, and maybe he was just saying, no, forget that. Let's just put the big boys in.
No, I think he meant. I think you read it right. I read it the same way, or when I heard it, I saw it the same way as you. But this is where they messed up, and this is where the Big Ten and SEC, I think, have figured it out. Like, they've gotten too big, and so you're going to have situations like this where some of these teams are going to get a better schedule because, the schedule's the schedule, and then they're rotating the teams through in and out. And in some years, like it was kind of a weird year. Indiana just got a great schedule and got to play and beat up on all the worst Big Ten teams. But again, because of the way college football is set up, it's always going to be that. I mentioned Dog and Pony Show. It's always going to be that you're going to have to dig in and see the quality wins, just because that's just the way it's set up. And then particularly now with these conferences being as big as they are, you're going to have to dig in, and I think quality wins will matter, and I think it has to. The committee's got to look at it because Indiana was, they were kind of a fraud in a way, and so I agree. I think you're going to, until they can. I don't know if they're ever going to come up with it, until they come up with a system where every team actually gets into the playoff, which you never know if that'll happen someday. It's just the way it's going to be. You're going to have to. You're going to have to look at the schedules. You're going to have to analyze it that way. And particularly, with the way Indiana, kind of blew it, you're stuck. From here on out, I think the quality of wins are going to have to be assessed, kind of like what Herb Street was saying.
Right. I didn't understand all the grief that he took from your guy Shannon Sharp, who basically threatened Herb Street, and so Shannon Sharp is allowed to have an opinion. But if Herb Street questions that opinion, that's wrong.
Yeah, well, that's ego, though. That's just big time, egos. You know how that works, PK.
If DJ questions me, I'm burying that sucker to the point where he told me I need to take the whole week off after Christmas.
I know. You know what I do? I get a whole week off after Christmas. It's good. I don't know. I think sometimes the egos for us personalities get a little bloated. Like Shannon Sharp, like seriously, we're just talking about college football and football in general. Just chill down. Don't take a personal front that you're going to go beat the hell out of Herb Street because he made a comment that you disagree with. Give me a break. You know what I mean? Like, it's so dumb. It's like we just chill.
Yeah. That's what I think DJ and I understand when we go at it. Hey, we're arguing sports here. We're not arguing real problems.
I know, exactly. We're supposed to be a distraction from the real world, So
right?
Just chill it out.
Did you hear that one time down the station you used to work at? The two morning guys go at it. Did you hear that one?
That was that. I don't know which show. Which show?
It was the ex-jock Wolf and whoever his partner was.
Oh yes, that's right, Doug and Wolf. Yep, down in there. Yep, I remember that. Oh yeah. They it's like, come on, guys.
And I was down there, and I used to do some shows out of their studios when. My wife and I, we had 3 parents die within 15 months of each other. So I was going down there a lot, and Hatch would let me use his studios to do this to the point where they gave me a card key because I was down there so much. Because it was in a truncated time, and you go down at the end of life, and then it lingers for 2 months, whatever it might be. So I spent a lot of time in Phoenix there at that time. So I got to know some of the guys, and he told me that he had to have a conversation with them afterward. If that's available online, our listeners should go look up. It was Doug and Wolf was the morning show, and those guys literally darn near came to blows on the air.
Oh yeah. I had that in Boston. I had a morning show in Boston. I swear to you, every morning after the show, I'd have to go and talk with them to try to get them from not killing each other. It was amazing. So I'm like, come on, guys. The East Coasters, man, they're angry. They're angry little elves, man. They just go after it all the time.
Did you learn that when you're on the East Coast?
Oh yeah, just a little bit. Yep. We would literally. I had a story. One time, I had my midday show in my office, and I was joking with Christian Fourier, who used to play for the Patriots. He was one of the hosts. And Lou Merlone used to be a ball player for the Red Sox, and Glenn Ordway, he was a legendary host in Boston at the time, and Memorial Day was coming up. And I told him, I said, hey, guys, you're getting Memorial Day off. You're going to take the holiday off. Holidays, people don't listen to the radio as much on holidays. It's just a proven fact. Their lives are disrupted. They literally got so mad because they wanted to work that day so they could have an extra comp day to use. I literally got yelled at. Like, I never in my life been yelled at by people before over giving them a day off. Like, I'm like, are you serious? Like, where am I right now? It's a holiday. You should be like, go enjoy your family. It was like 15 minutes of screaming, and then I'm like, finally, I just said, I threw him out of the office. I'm like, just get out of here. All right, you're off on Memorial Day. See you later. It's like, gosh, you people, settle down. All good guys, love them to death, but man, the anger is over the weirdest things. So anyway,
so we won't talk to you until next Friday. Who do you think survives the quarterfinals?
I kind of lean to the favorites, except the Oregon Ohio State's going to be an interesting one because Ohio State, man, I think everybody thought they were going to be left for dead after the way they lost to Michigan, but man, they proved everybody wrong in the way they came out and played. So I feel bad for Oregon. Oregon's the number 1 overall seed, and they're going to have the toughest, seems like, task and toughest game. So so that one, I do think there's going to be an upset somewhere along the way. We're due for one. We didn't get it in the first round. So I don't know if that's Arizona State. I don't know if that's Boise State over Penn State. But I see something there. And Georgia, I'm curious about only because, they have a quarterback issue. Gunnar Stockton, I guess, is the guy's name, who's now going to be the quarterback. So that one I'm a little curious about. But I don't know. I'm in North Carolina celebrating the holidays with my family, and gambling is legal here. And I started with $100, and I have $0. And I was only betting $5 bets, PK. So why ask me? I don't know what the hell I'm doing. All right, I don't know who I'm going to pick. So, but if I had to, I'd say, Arizona State or Boise State, one of those two will pull off an upset. Here, I'll lay that one out, and then Oregon, Ohio State, I just think it's a toss-up. I remember watching that game when they played originally this year, and that was a hell of a game. So
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. Georgia's good. So I just, Notre Dame, I still question a little bit. So I would say Georgia, give me Oregon, give me Arizona State for your behalf, and Penn State. Those will be the 4, and we'll see what happens.
All right.
But I'll probably be wrong on all of them. So.
Well, I hope you're right on one of them. We'll see about the rest of them.
I know,
and we'll talk to you next Friday.
Hey, sounds great, my friend. Enjoy your new year, and good luck, your Devils, and BYU fans. Enjoy your bowl game. I think that'll be a fun one as well.
It will. Thanks for your time. We'll talk to you next Friday.
Sounds great, PK. Take care.
All right, that's a long-time Salt Lake City sports radio. I would call him a legend. He's a legend in the sports radio industry, having been a program director at huge markets, and now not doing it. But we appreciate him coming on Fridays because he is entertaining as always. So stay with us. We'll get you caught up on what you may have missed right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
College football, where it was with geographical conferences, was better. I hate an 18-team Big Ten that features Oregon and Washington playing on the Big Ten network. That makes no damn sense.
Oh, of course.
None.
No.
So what are we doing here? And then you got the situation where Indiana doesn't have a good win on their schedule, but they make the college football playoff because they don't play everybody in their conference. How can you be the champion of a conference if you only played half the teams in your conference?
Right.
What are we doing? I don't like it, but you embrace what it is. You embrace the chaos. It's entertaining one way or the other, but I'd prefer it to be the way it was as opposed to where it is right now in 2024.
The athletic director for Alabama said, well, now you forced us into reconsidering what we're going to do with our non-conference schedule.
Everybody from Alabama, just take a seat, man.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Did you watch the game last night? It was an entertaining game. I actually enjoyed watching it. Some of these games where they've been smoked right from the start haven't been as entertaining, but this wasn't one of them, as they led throughout most of the game, had a 15-point lead, but go down as the Blazers score 41 points, outscored the Jazz by 9 in the fourth quarter, and win 122-120. If you didn't see it, Scoot Henderson hit a shot, ended up going through the net with 0.01 seconds to go. He had 18 off the bench. This Avdia, he was a high pick a couple years back, 27 points, 8 boards, and 6 assists. How about that? Wow. Didn't see that coming. But overall, the Jazz played well without a lot of guys, without Collins, without George, without Clarkson. So relied on the younger dudes. Isaiah Collier got to start 35 minutes. Had 8 rebounds. He's actually a bigger guard. From that perspective, reminds me a little of Andre Miller, who plays a little bigger than he is. Isaiah's a little taller than Andre was. He's not even close to the player yet. 7 assists, but he had 6 turnovers. That's not good enough. You got to get better at that. Colin Section, 19, 11 assists. That was good. And Filipowski played well. Cody Williams, we saw him, man, get out there for 25 minutes. Still trying to find a way to make an impact. If you buy the plus-minus, he had the worst of the minus categories on the team. They were a minus 18 when he was on the floor. That's by far the worst because all the starters had pluses ranging from +1 to Sexton all the way up to 16 from that Sviv guy played at Kansas. Made 6 3-pointers, which was decent. I appreciate that. He was shooting the ball well. Jazz shot the ball well overall. Can't really argue with that and the way they made their shots. It's just that Portland shot 50% from the field. That's not shot 50% from 3. Now, we've always said, man, with the number of threes that you take in these games, if you shoot
50%, you got an outstanding chance to win, which they did, but they didn't win. Part of the problem is 17 of 25 from the free throw line. Kessler continues to struggle. He's going to have to get better at that. 3 of 6. He airballed one in the second half, I think it was. Came back and made the second one. But he has an opportunity to get fouled a fair amount of times, and he's going to have to get better at free throw shooting. There's no doubt about that. He's got to find a way to get close to 70%. How about that? 70%. Jazz are off now. They'll play tomorrow at the Delta Center against Philadelphia. We had Locke on earlier this morning. He thinks Philadelphia is worthy of consideration to come out of the East. Now, they got to get healthy, right? If they're healthy, how good can they be? Right now, they're 11-17. And they would be out of the playoff if it started today, or the play-in for that matter. The Bulls are sitting there at 5 games under in 10th place in the play-in. Yeah, I mean, that really sucks. If we've got teams that are 5 or 10 games under 500 getting in the play-in, is that really what we want? No. I'll be the first one to answer that. No, we do not want that whatsoever. That would be awful. At least in the West, probably the teams that are 9 and 10 will be around 500, maybe a little bit better. We'll see how that plays out as far as that goes. But when you look at the teams that are in contention for the worst record, which the Jazz are, you got New Orleans with only 5 wins, man. I don't know what Zion's going to do. Does anybody have any idea what he's going to do? Is he going to play? Is he going to sit? Probably going to sit if you're going to bet on it. What's he going to do? Sit out. But they're there. That was why it was important for the Jazz to lose that game last night, because then they would have been right on neck and neck with Portland. Portland could still do it with 10 wins or 10 and 20. And I think now, once you get past Christmas, the standings are worth taking a look at. Washington got a win last night, shockingly. So you got Charlotte. I think they beat Charlotte, who stinks. So someone had to win. You got Charlotte and Toronto with 7 wins and Washington with 5. I mean, I think it's imperative, absolutely imperative, that they get a top 5 pick and probably top 3. Maybe compromise, go top 4. I think they need it. Locke's talking about the team being competitive in 30-31. I don't know, Yak, does that seem like that's about 20 years away to you? It seems a long ways away.
It does, but at the same time, it's actually not that far off. We're getting old quick, PK.
But when he said that...
Oh, no, trust me.
When he said that, did you cringe a little bit?
Well, I'm just glad you followed up with a follow-up question saying, did you pull that number from somewhere, or is that something we should be paying attention to? And it was stunning to hear him say it, but then when he explained it, it's like, oh, I guess he's right.
Well, considering, so we're in a 24-25 season, right? Obviously.
Correct, yes.
So that would be, and we still got more than half of the season to go here. Another month or so before we get to the halfway point. They're coming up on 30 games played, which means they still got over 50 to go. So you look at it, so this would be the 3rd season of no playoff. So then you'd have 25-26, 26-27, 27-28, and then 28-29. I mean, that's close to a decade almost.
Yeah.
Now, he did say in terms of being able to be a threat to win it all, so maybe you can make the playoffs or at least the play-in in a season or 2 before that. But, he's talking about the timeline because I asked him about Kessler. The point of him bringing that up, I said, Kessler's playing well. All the guys who are 23 and under, who's playing the best consistently? George is getting there, but we would have to go with Kessler. And I don't think it's any coincidence that Kessler, of the young guys 23 and under, he's the one dude who has the most experience. He's in his 3rd year. Everybody else is either in their 2nd or rookie seasons, right? So then I followed up, and Kessler's doing what they're asking him to do defensively and rebound. It seems like he's doing it far more often than not, whereas last year it was the other way around, right? And so I asked him, all right, does that mean that Kessler is the most tradable asset And because your marketing can't go now with the rules, maybe next year. And he said, and I agree with him, as far as the timeline of the Jazz being competitive, that Kessler fits in the timeline, which most definitely he does. Just age-wise, yes, he fits in the timeline. I understand there. That's a fact. Things up when the team is ready to be competitive in 30-31. And I'm thinking 30-31, I'll be pushing up daisies in 30-31. That just seems way. Have to put up with losing for another 5 seasons. Oh my gosh, that makes me nervous. So, well, there you go. Kessler is 23 years of age, right? So, and salary-wise, I don't even think he's making $3 million on that deal. As far as that goes, his birthday I think is in the summer, if I remember correctly. So he's still a young pup. We'll see. Jazz are back in action Saturday. Utah hockey team back in action tonight against the Avalanche. Lost in overtime the other night. After what were they up? Were they up 4-1? I think they were up 4-1, weren't they?
They were, yeah.
And So that was a rough one, being up 4-1. But it just leads to the level of excitement that these guys play at. I mean, they play, you literally never know what's going to happen. So if you're looking for exciting competition, the Utah Hockey Club right now is almost like a guarantee that that's what it's going to be. You never know what they're going to do. I mean, they had won, 4 in a row. Then Anaheim got them on Saturday or Sunday, I think it was, 5-4 that was the game that they lost 5-4 in the shootout. And then Dallas. On Monday, they lost 3-2. So now they've had a good break here over Christmas. Tonight, get back at it, 7:30 ESPN 2. And then the big bowl game, the Cougars and the Buffaloes. Wow. I'm super excited about this game. There's a slew of games today, slew of games tomorrow. But the number one game I want to see is BYU and Colorado. And I think that probably if I wasn't assigned to be paying attention to BYU, I would still want to see that's the case there. I think that's where we're going with this, and they have an opportunity to get 11 wins. And any way you spin it, 11 wins is a great season. Now, if they get smoked 41-7 or something, that would be a huge disappointment. Maybe if they lose a close game, you can live with it a little bit better. Somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. So we'll see about that. But they got an opportunity to win this ball game, and I think that if they win, I think you can argue it's the best win of the season. They beat Kansas State, which had 9 wins, and they won their bowl game last night against Rutgers. They were down big, but still managed an opportunity to put themselves in a position to win it, and that they did. And how about Pittsburgh and Toledo? What are they saying? That thing went 6 overtimes? Is that what it is?
Yes, 6 overtimes. And that came just 2 days after we had a 5 overtime game in Hawaii.
Yeah, it was. Oh, yeah, Christmas Eve? Yeah. My fam wanted to watch a movie Christmas Eve, a Christmas movie, a little bit of a tradition. I said, okay, but I want to watch this game first. Let's wait till it ends. Santa's not coming till after midnight. We're okay. And I did watch that game too, and that was a fun game to watch. And then you had, yesterday, it was in one of the overtimes that Pittsburgh was right there, like on the 2-yard line. On 3rd down, they didn't get in, and on 4th down, they kicked a field goal. And not Baylor, I don't know where I came up with Baylor. Kansas State had just kicked the field goal themselves. So they only had 2 yards to go to try to win the game. And then if you're going to just tie it and move on to overtime, especially the overtimes where you have to just do the 2-point conversion, that's the same distance. So why not go for the win right there? But they didn't. And then there were 2 times where Toledo thought they won on a quarterback sack, and then when the quarterback tried to get in the end zone, 2 separate plays, and they reviewed them, and they went in Pittsburgh's favor. So the Toledo came rushing on the field. Not the fans, but the players. So they ended up doing twice and then had to clear the field and start again. It's much easier to clear the players than the fans. I understand that. But I think, Yak, they did set the record for most game-winning celebrations. It was literally 3 times then.
Yeah, the Utah Ute fans over there like,
we still have.
Hey.
Yeah, but that was the fans. So Utah still holds for field storming by a fan base. They still hold the record for 3, so they're okay there. That was just the players, and they ran out of the field celebrating. And that's why, man, I am dead set against all these people who say these bowls are meaningless. They may be meaningless to you, but watch the teams when they win. Just watch them when they win. Does it look like it's meaningless to them? No. It does not look like it's meaningless to them. It looks like it really matters to them. And if it matters to them, good on them. I think it matters over. So I say keep somehow as the playoff continues to dominate. I'm all fine with that. But still keep these other bowl games going because it matters to these youngsters and they get that opportunity. And it mattered when South Florida beat San Jose State in 5 OTs on Christmas Eve. All right, stay with us next. We will close up the show, get some feedback, and prepare you for the best 10 a.m. to noon show that you could possibly listen to in the world right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
Thank you for joining us on this Friday. Tomorrow's the big game. BYU and I was going to say BYU and Utah. No, not the Utes. BYU and Colorado. Is this the de facto Big 12 title game, as Jake Retzlaff calls it, the People's Big 12 Championship game? Oh, my gosh, who's buying that? Isn't that just blatant disrespect to the Sun Devils and Iowa State? Now, these are 7-2 teams, and you had the 2 teams that got in the final at 7-2, and through some spiel on a tiebreaker, however they came up with it, BYU and Colorado were left out. Now, Colorado, they would have lost 3 games overall, so I guess that doesn't really count, though. There's all 7-2 in the league. Each team, Kansas, who would have thought Kansas would be the big-time spoiler, because Kansas beat BYU and then beat Colorado, right? And then I think then you're thinking, okay, Kansas has got going on. I think they'd beaten Iowa State the week before and had won 3 games against ranked teams, and then they turned around, and I think Baylor drilled them at the end. So I put it up on Facebook. Is this the de facto? Is this the people's game? Shane Retzlaff is clueless. If he didn't throw the ball so much to the other team, they would have a legitimate chance at the title game. Oh, my gosh, Shane, coming strong. Ben, ha, 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 ha. No, it's not. Oh, Tyler, I can't wait for Colorado to put 50 on them. Ute fans, are you going to be big Colorado fans after they destroyed you in the penultimate game of the regular season? Okay. All right, but Pete's saying there's more interest in this game than there was for ASU Iowa State. Is that true? There was more interest in the game? I guess maybe you can argue. I don't know. Terry says whatever floats his boat. If that's what you want, I will say this. If the Cougars win, I hope they do. If they do, then 11-2. Does this go down as a top 5 season? What do you think, Yak? I mean, that's a discussion for another day. Do you think it goes down as a top 5 season?
Top
given the
5?
Yeah, given all the Power 4 teams that they played, they will have played, 10? 11, I guess.
There's an argument to be made there. I think it's top 10 easy. I just have a question about it being top 5. But you make a very good point, considering you look at the level of difficulty with the opponents and the like. It's right there in the mix. If 11-2 would be pretty impressive, and there's not that many 11-win seasons in BYU history in general.
Right. Unless you're the big boys, I don't know how many programs can say they've had a lot of 11-win seasons. You got to really be up there in the hierarchy. 11 wins. I mean, there's no consistent of the El Pasos of the world or whoever. that you don't think was good back in the WAC/Mountain West days. And here, I mean, they played a lot of good teams, man. Baylor, 8-win team, right? They beat all these teams. So you got to give it to them. I mean, Utah was only, a 5-win team, but that game always seems to be a knockdown, drag-out affair.
It doesn't matter what the records are, those two teams.
Yeah. Even if you're a lousy team record-wise, it seems like you always play your best game of the season when you're playing those two get together, and that's what we had here. So, I think there's a possibility you can make an argument. You know, I'm not a historian the way probably you are, having grown up here and followed BYU your whole life, and certainly DJ, who has a better mind for that than I do. But if they win, maybe that. Now I want to. That's another reason I want them to win even more, because then we got a topic for next week. Where does this 11-2, if they win, obviously, where does it fit in on the scale of greatest seasons?
Sure, and I guess
13-0's got to be up there, obviously.
Yeah, and the argument, I guess, conversely, PK, if they lose this one, they go 1-3 to finish out the season. Is it one of the bigger disappointments?
Yeah, how about that? If you're 10-3, is it a disappointing season? Well, you finish the stretch run 1-3. Yeah, that's why I think there's a lot riding on this game, particularly for the Cougars who return a bunch of guys. Colorado, I mean, their main stars are going to go off to the NFL. BYU, not so much. So this is something that can springboard into next season for sure. All right, well, we'll be talking about that at great detail come Monday. It'll be all right. For now, you listen to our guys Ben and Jake, because they'll be up next right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.